Welcome to a deadline stream for Game Week 3, and this has just been such a crazy day and also transfer window in general. So thank you everyone who is here, and there's a lot to talk about. So not only am I going to be rating your teams, so you can send them in the live chat and I'll be talking about ways to improve. I'm also going to have 5 teams on screen, which were sent to me on Twitter and Instagram, and you can do the same thing after each match day. And then pretty much either in a live stream or video, I'll be going through them for everyone to see. And of course, I'll be giving constructive criticism. I don't want to, kind of go too hard on someone or whatever, even if I don't like the team too much. Everyone has a different way of playing. Some people are even going to now try to fit 3, 4, 5 premiums in. And Ronaldo is in the Premier League. I mean, not to Manchester City as we all thought yesterday, but to Manchester United, and just a crazy turn of events. And here we are. This is FPL. Maybe the future is with going with the premiums pretty much, and not so much with the rest of it. So thank you everyone who is here. Really appreciate it. I'll be going through the other teams shortly before talking about your teams in the live chat. But yeah, really appreciate all the support, and let's go through this. So Baraka, thank you for waiting. Really appreciate it. I mean, wow, that was at 6 o'clock. Liam says the craziest transfer window in history. I completely agree, to be honest. It's been just insane. Messi to PSG was bad enough. It's like ever since he won an international trophy, it seems to have created a multiverse, and then we have all these different things happening. Ronaldo nearly went to Man City. That would have been definitely weird, but he's gone back to Manchester United, and it looks like City pretty much pulled out of it. So I don't know. This is just a personal opinion of mine. It's not a complete fact, but I think Manchester City have bottled this transfer window, and I think if they had signed a top striker, and they still can, but it's very unlikely now, I think they would have had a firm grip on the league, and now this gives an opportunity for Liverpool, for United, who have strengthened significantly, and Chelsea, who addressed their big weakness up front. I think those 3 teams have a great chance, and personally right now, I have a bad feeling that Chelsea are going to win the league. I say bad feeling because I do hate them, but you know what? Let's forget about that. Ali says, keep Son the next 2 game weeks and do Veltman to Livramento and play him this game week, and do Ings to DCL and play Brownhill next game week, or do Son and Brownhill to Greenwood and Benrahma this game week and Ings to DCL. That's a lot of stipulations there and situations, but yeah, I definitely keep Son for the next 2 weeks, to be honest. Yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of him. Yeah, and Ings to DCL looks really good. As for the other transfer, Veltman to Livramento, I'm not so sure about that, because Veltman is back in Game Week 4, and I see him outscoring Livramento quite significantly. I just don't back Southampton's defence too much. I think Livramento is just really there as your 5th defender on the bench. He's a good option who plays. Other than that, I'm not really too keen on him. Next game we can have no Son, but a better starting 11 the next 2 game weeks. Yeah, I get what you mean, but either way, this is not really a game week where you want to get rid of Son if you have him. Home Sweet Home says, hi Dylan, how are you doing? I'm planning... I hope you are doing good. I'm planning to get Spurs defence. Please suggest others than Reguilon. Thanks. Honestly, if it's not Reguilon, I'd be going for one of the 4.5 million defenders. A lot of people are saying Tanganga, but I like the look of Davinson Sanchez, who can get some bonus points easily. The only problem with him is that he is prone to a yellow card and even sometimes a red card, but I think he'd be a good one. If not, Eric Dyer, and Tanganga himself is good. So all of them are good, but I just think in terms of bonus points, at least from what we've seen so far, Davinson is the most likely out of those 3. But we'll wait and see. Phantom says, Sue! Yeah, that's going to be a really popular one. I've been hearing it all day, even in my neighbourhood. Davis, welcome. Thank you for joining in. Really appreciate it. Ty says, hey Dylan, I think wildcards are going to be used by many to get CR7 in. Also, he's back home. Yeah, he is. And to be honest, some people are using it anyway, for the likes of Lukaku, even Kane, to at least have a placeholder up front and kind of ripping apart their team structure. But at this moment in time, I'm not really thinking of doing that, but maybe in a game week or 2, I could completely change my mind. And yeah, I just think at the moment, it looks like having a really expensive striker up front, I think, is the way to go. And you can constantly switch between Kane, Lukaku and Ronaldo. You look at last season, and we only had Kane really to choose from because Aguero was always in and out. He was injured. But now we have 3 premium strikers who could do the business. Baraka says, what's up Dylan, hope you're doing well. Doing really well, thank you. What about you? Thank you for joining in. And Baraka says, can I send you my team right now? You can send it in the live chat, but in terms of sending an image, I've already got 5 teams ready, and I'll be going through them. But you can do so in future game weeks by sending it on Twitter or Instagram, and they can feature in either a video or a live stream, depends on how the schedule is. Welcome Kevin, thank you for joining in. The Flying Dutchman, good evening to you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome Hassan. Shanoy says, I got in DCL for Tony and Duffy for White to avoid price rise. All this from -4. Would this be a good way to go? I'm currently on 191. That's a really good score, obviously better than mine. I'm not really too keen on hits, even if you're avoiding price rises and White is obviously out and you're getting Duffy in, but I'm just not really that keen on Duffy this game week anyway. He could be a good option at 4.1 million if he can maintain his starting berth, but yeah, a -4 for a defender, especially that type of transfer, I'm not too sure about that. Rahul says Messi is still clear. Well, I think so too, but Ronaldo at United again is going to be very interesting. Aman says, I doubt United are going to win anything though. Oli decision making is terrible. Well, this is the thing. A reason why I think Chelsea at the moment will probably win the league is because of their manager, and same with Liverpool and City. They just have a different class of manager compared to United, but we'll wait and see. We could still be surprised, and they have a lot of quality players now, Manchester United. It's just a way of getting them to click. It makes the league exciting though, says the Flying Dutchman. I completely agree. And yeah, I mean, I've never really thought of a title race this open. They always kind of say this every year, but it never really happens. It might be 2 teams battling out, but this year it could be 3 or 4. Bruno getting shipped, says Ed Mers. Potentially. I think Ronaldo... Look, I think Bruno's still going to be a good option, but is he going to be worth 12 million? I'm not so sure, because he's going to be off free kicks probably. Same with penalties, he's not going to be on them, and that was his big appeal. So honestly, Bruno will not be anywhere near as popular and maybe as effective. He can still do well. I think he could even get more assists than usual, but in terms of goals and bonus points and all of that, penalties, not too keen on him right now. Liam says Messi has always been and will always be clear. Yeah, like I said, I already agree. Everyone has their own opinion, but yeah, in terms of overall footballing ability, I think Messi is clear pretty much of everyone. Das says Mahrez to Rafinha, good move. As I discussed with you earlier in one of my videos, in my opinion, I'd keep Mahrez this week. Obviously, Rafinha, probably from Game Week 5 onwards, is a better option than Mahrez, but right now, I probably wouldn't do that. But yeah, Mahrez is kind of always a bit of a weird one to have. Mickey says, hello Dylan, evening. What do you think about these crazy transfers? Do you think you see yourself getting Ronaldo in your team in the future? Definitely in the future, I can see myself getting him in, but I'd have to see him first, especially at United, and the goals could still be evenly spread. Of course, he'll be the focal point in attack, but I'd want to see first. But he can easily score 15, 20 goals, maybe even more. But I'm not so sure he's going to reach the heights of 30, 40 goals like he did in La Liga. Josh says, my team is Sanchez, Ayling, Alexander-Arnold, Shaw, Salah, Benrahma, Fernandes, Jota, Antonio, Bamford and Wilson, Foster, Duffy, Basuma and Amati as subs. Who do I play and who do I captain? Interesting one. I'd probably play the exact same 11 you have there. Potentially you could maybe bench Jota for Amati or something like that, but honestly the rest is fine. In terms of who do you captain, I'd probably go for Antonio or Bruno Fernandes, one of those two. Yeah, definitely one of those two. Ings or DCL, says Undying Mafia. I think this week Ings, but overall DCL, and in Game Week 4 it's going to be a very popular thing to move Ings on to DCL. Hassan says, should I keep Rafinha and Son or swap them with Greenwood and someone else? Look, Greenwood is very good at the moment, and he's looking like a really good option, but I'd probably just keep Rafinha and Son for now, because maybe in a few weeks' time Greenwood loses a spot or gets rotated a bit more, and also his numbers are a bit unsustainable, at least on paper at the moment. And then yeah, with Rafinha and Son, I think they're good assets long term, and Son, he's really good for the next 2 game weeks, even as a captain. Ed Mers says, Ronaldo going to United does make it a more competitive league for the big 4, definitely, but I think the gap between the top 4 and the rest of the league is really huge, and this kind of top 6 nonsense and stuff, it's not really a thing in my opinion. It's pretty much the big 4 now, or at least the top 4, and there's a big gap. I don't really see even Spurs or Leicester kind of challenging for that. Of course, I could be wrong, but yeah, the top 4 should pretty much be quite clear. It's just a matter of who finishes in which position. Phantom says Antonio, Tony, Benrahma, Rafinha, Bruno, McGinn, Soufal, Shaw, Ayling and Meslier. Dodgy start to FPL, plan to bring in Reece James and Lukaku, Ronaldo potentially. Yeah, but you can't have everyone. I try to tell myself this, you can't have everyone. So if you kind of miss out on someone who's doing exceptionally well, sometimes you kind of have to be patient and bring them in a few weeks down the line. And still, the team you have can do extremely well in the future. Of course, some options, in my opinion anyway, like McGinn, I'm not really too keen on. Even Meslier, who actually, before Game Week 1, I thought maybe he's one of the best keepers. Hasn't really shown it so far, but maybe with the fixture swing in Game Week 5, I think Leeds could be really good, and same with Meslier. But still, that's a good team you have, Phantom. Welcome, Willy Bolly, a really good name. Yarang says Son for Salah for Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 and swap them again for Game Week 5 and 6 thoughts. I would only do that if you still have 2 free transfers going into the next game week, because I think having 2 free transfers in Game Week 4 during an international break gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can also maybe potentially get Ronaldo or someone else in up front. So I would only do that if you have 2 free transfers next week. What's your transfer this week, mate? Says Legolas. I only made 1 free transfer, as I discussed in my team selection video. I moved Barnes on to Benrahma, and I could have maybe done 2 free transfers, got rid of Tony instead, kept Barnes for now, and then ship him out next week. But the reason why is because I want 2 free transfers heading into Game Week 4, and one of them most likely will be Ings to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I just don't fancy Ings at all against Chelsea, and then you look at the other fixtures, they look really poor. So yeah, instead I decided to move on Barnes. I think he can do really well this week, but either way, I don't want him in the long term if Leicester keep playing like that. And of course, there will be a shake-up. Iheanacho should come into the side, and I expect Leicester to be better. Wilson to Bamford for a -4. I wouldn't take a -4 for that, to be honest, because Wilson and Newcastle can still score a few goals in Game Week 3. Anna says, hey Dylan, start Ayling or Livramento? This is actually a question I've been asked quite a lot, and I'd probably go with Ayling, to be honest. I know Livramento is playing Newcastle. On paper that's quite an easy fixture, but I'd probably still go for Ayling. Home Sweet Home says, do you suggest to get Spurs defence this week? Could sense next 2 weeks they'll get clean sheets. Well, if you have no other transfer to make, and if you still have 2 free transfers going into Game Week 4, then I would recommend a Spurs defender. At 4.5 million, I've been telling people all week, I'd probably go for someone like Davinson Sanchez, even Eric Dyer, or Tanganga, and Davinson Sanchez will probably be the pick of the bunch at this moment in time. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. Of course, with Reguilon, he's a good one for a 1-week punt, but I'm not so sure he's worth the extra 0.5, 0.6 million over the other defenders. Real Fam says Sanchez, Shaw, Amati, Cancelo, Salah, Fernandes, Greenwood, Mahrez, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio, bench, Foster, Tsimikas, White, Perica. That's a good team, Real Fams. Just trying to see here. Yeah, Mahrez is someone I wouldn't be too kind of keen on long term, but for this game week I think he can do exceptionally well, and the rest looks pretty solid, to be honest. Amati will probably lose his spot very soon, although I would expect him to continue to start this week, but after that I think Vestergaard should be back and available. Yeah, one of the most interesting transfer windows, says Phantom. Definitely, no doubt about it, mate. So now that Ronaldo's back and United, I'm thinking of captaining Bruno. Yeah, maybe as a kind of one last, captaincy for Bruno. But in terms of captaining him in future, I'm not so sure now. He can still get more assists, but just not having penalties, a bit less likely to get bonus points. It just, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's grim for Bruno, but maybe he won't be, kind of hitting 250, 300 points, although we can still be wrong about that. Is Duffy going to start the next 2 game weeks? Worth replacing him for Veltman? I think he will start the next game week, but after that, Veltman should be back in Game Week 4. That's what has been reported, and if that's the case, then, especially if you're looking to take a hit for Duffy, I just don't think it's worth it, and he's playing Everton this week, so yeah, I'd probably kind of avoid that. Baraka says Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Henry of Brentford, Benrahma, Bruno, Salah, Barnes, Mahrez, Antonio, Tony, going Benrahma or Trent as captain. Trent as captain against Chelsea. I mean, look, Trent last week, of course, did the business and he did exceptionally well, and he is fixture proof, but against Chelsea, I'm just not so sure. Benrahma looks like a very interesting captaincy and could be a fantastic differential. I'll be honest though, the kind of thing that stands out in your team in a negative way is Henry of Brentford, especially in your starting 11, but I could be wrong about that. Kevin says, hey Dylan, how's everything? How do you think, or who do you think is the best 5 million and under defender for next week minus Soufal? I have Ayling. Do you think he's good? Leeds normally outrun smaller teams and totally dominate. They do, but at the same time they can still concede a goal or two, and despite scoring 4 or 5. So at the moment, I'd probably say one of the Spurs defenders. So Sanchez, Dyer, or Tanganga. I think they are probably the standouts right now. Even, look, if Shane Duffy can nail a spot beyond Veltman's return, I think he's a very good option, but not for this game week in particular. Akraf says, Ronaldo, Antonio, Lukaku, what about this fantastic attack? It looks really good on paper, of course, but for any of you who are wildcarding and want to get Ronaldo in straight away, obviously he's not going to make Game Week 3. This will be, in time for Game Week 4 after the international break. But yeah, I mean, that looks really good on paper, to be honest. Hey Dylan, Dyer or Livramento for Game Week 3? I'd definitely go for Dyer. I think he's far more likely to get a clean sheet, Jay. Hey mate, hope you're well. Absolute madness of a window. Feels like we are spectators, pretty sad. But hopefully our young squad will improve in the next few years and we are at the top again. I think it's very unlikely for that to happen. But of course, at least there was something to celebrate in the Carabao Cup for Arsenal. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take many years for Arsenal to even be near the top four, let alone, the very top of the Premier League. Emmett says, my plan right now is Bruno down to a 6-7 million midfielder and Ings for the GOAT instead of DCL as planned. I'm pretty sure Messi hasn't joined the league, mate. But yeah, DCL, that's the thing now that a lot of people wanted DCL. They probably won't be able to now with Lukaku, with Kane now staying at Spurs most likely. And then you have Ronaldo. So yeah, it just changes everything really, all these transfers. And honestly, I think it is worth investing money up front now. Viewer 5.5 million Gray. I'll be honest, ahead of the Game Week 2 deadline, I wasn't really too keen on him because I wanted to see more from him. I remember some viewers actually bringing him to my attention and I was saying, look, he could be really good, but I want to see more first. And of course, he was very impressive. And maybe he is worth it, to be honest. But yeah, at 5.5 million, I'd say him and Mbeumo are the best options. Maybe Odegaard and Smith Rowe could also be two other decent choices. But yeah, I think Gray at the moment looks like the best in that price bracket. But I wouldn't be prepared to have him in my starting 11 right now. The real Willy Polly. Yeah, imagine if he was watching, that'd be pretty funny. Josh said, my mate used his wildcard after Game Week 1. He missed Lukaku and Ronaldo transfers and Kane staying at Tottenham. I'd advise you all to hold the wildcard unless absolutely necessary. Well, I think using after Game Week 1 is exceptionally reactionary because it's only one game week. You could have 40 points. Most people get 90 or 100, but it doesn't matter. You can outscore them in future game weeks. So I think that's very, very reactionary. Of course, using after a few game weeks, you have a bit more data, a bit more information. You kind of understand which teams and players are doing the best. That makes sense. But after Game Week 1, I just don't get that. Son for Benrahma. I wouldn't be getting rid of Benrahma or Son, for this week. So honestly, I'd rather have both of them, and I wouldn't be getting rid of Benrahma this week, even if you can just do him, upgrade him to Son. If you had Son, would you captain him over Antonio this week? Honestly, I would consider it, and because he's fit now, he played a few minutes in the Conference League yesterday, I would consider it for sure, but I probably still would go with Antonio. It'd be very tough. However, if it was looking at Kane versus Antonio, that's when I'd go for Kane. But with Son, I'd maybe go for Antonio. I think Kane would be the kind of focal point in attack so long as he starts. Hassan says, my team, Sanchez, Trent, Ayling, Shaw, Salah, Son, Benrahma, Pen Merchant, Rafinha, Tony, Antonio, Perica, Veltman, Tsimikas, Foster on the bench. Yeah, that looks really good. That looks pretty good, to be honest. I'm trying to really think of a weakness. Maybe going forward, Tony could be upgraded. You could even arguably make 2 transfers. And just upgrade him. You already got 5 midfielders, don't you? Yeah, you do. Because you have Antonio, Tony, and Perica, I think your front line would kind of be the weakness there. Antonio is carrying, but apart from that, it looks really good, Hassan. Marcus has committed to the Barnes Benrahma move before the price changes and found out you did too. Didn't think you were that close to doing it. Was going to do Tsimikas to Livramento before Rise, but happy to have 2 free transfers. Makes complete sense. And yeah, I don't like price rises or chasing them, but I was that convinced about the transfer looking and reflecting after the deadline stream, or the reaction stream, should I say, and I went ahead with it, to be honest. But yeah, sometimes this is the thing with FPL and football, we change our minds, but still, I was always talking about getting Benrahma in. It was just a matter of how, and in the end, I wanted 2 free transfers ahead of Game Week 4, so I'm not really regretting the choice right now. In near future, whom to get in place of Bruno? Maybe, arguably, you could just downgrade him to a 7 million midfielder or below and then upgrade one of your strikers to Kane, Lukaku or Ronaldo, to be honest. But, of course, I'd wait and see with Ronaldo first before kind of committing to him. I trust my team, captaining Trent. Fair enough, Lippert. Good luck. And, yeah, Trent, damn, captaincy. Then again, I said that last week and he did the goods. Mahrez to Benrahma. That's tough, man. I mean, I think Mahrez could do really well this week, so you always run the risk. But, of course, long-term, you're avoiding a headache, so it makes complete sense there, mate. Bruno off pens now. Let's go. Yeah. But to be fair, if Ronaldo gets subbed off and Bruno's still on the pitch, he still gets them. But, yeah, he's not the main one anymore. Grealish and Tony for Rafinha and Antonio, what do you think? Yeah, if you're getting rid of Grealish and Tony for Rafinha and Antonio, I think that makes complete sense and you're upgrading, so I would do that, yeah. back in London. Isn't the deadline tomorrow? I am back in London, but in terms of deadline streams, I think I will mainly be doing them on Friday, even if the deadline's on Saturday. One, because a lot of people worldwide aren't able to watch it because of the time zone, and even some people in the UK who just don't wake up that early or not on YouTube that early. And two, also to kind of differentiate myself from others, there's so many people streaming at the same time, so it's kind of good to be different. So yeah, that's why. But of course, based on feedback, I can change that. Of course, I tend to do it 1 hour or two before the deadline. And with UCL Fantasy, that's another different story. I will be doing the deadline streams 1 or 1.5 hours before the actual matches start. So yeah, let me try catch up to all these questions. Thank you everyone who is sending in questions and comments. Bruno out, Kane in. Look, I think Kane, if he starts, is going to be great, but there's still the odd chance he doesn't start. But yeah, I think it would make sense, and he could be a placeholder for Lukaku in game week 7 or Cristiano Ronaldo. Would you get rid of Bruno before Newcastle at home though, even with Ronaldo starting? This is the thing, it completely, it kind of changes their ideas. Kind of looking at it from that perspective, I wouldn't be getting rid of him, but things can change, and if Bruno is kind of playing in a deeper position, he's not on set pieces and all of this stuff that we talked about, then maybe I would actually still get rid of him, to be honest. But Newcastle are looking like a really poor defence. Sanchez, Mings, Arnold, Dunk, Ward-Prowse, Fernandes, Salah, Grealish, Mount, Wilson, Antonio. It looks really good. Of course, long-term, Wilson and Newcastle, not really sure about them. Mount's a decent differential. I like him. But then again, around the same price, you can get Jota, you can get Greenwood. I'm not really sure about him. Ward-Prowse, I'm not a fan of. I think Dunk is a good option in Sky Fantasy, but FPL, maybe you could get better. And then Grealish, I'm just not really feeling him at the moment. I think he's a good option, but there might be better elsewhere. Well, mate, having a better differential as Trent as captain to cover some points because I didn't have Antonio. I lost 29 points for not having him, to be honest. Damn. Yeah, well, you can't have everyone, to be honest. I really just only got Antonio because I looked at the opening fixtures. I liked West Ham's attack. I liked Antonio from last season and his underlying stats. So I went with him, but just sometimes doesn't work out, and like Barnes, for example, he's one of the players who didn't work out for me, and I thought he'd actually hit the ground running this season, but it just doesn't always go according to plan. Getting ready for some captaincy headaches in the future, definitely, Wanja, especially if we have 4 or 5 premiums. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous right now. Good man, we know the GOAT hasn't joined the Prem, says Liam. yeah. Just saying, Ronaldo and Varane combined cost less than Ben White. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not going to find me arguing about that, mate. I'm not going to defend Arsenal on that. It's completely crazy. Is Rafinha going to play after international break? He will, because Rafinha, at least as things stand, let me make that disclaimer. England, the English government, Premier League, they are not going to let the players go to red list countries, so that means they're not going to travel. And if you look at Brazil and Argentina, for example, they're literally missing 20 players from their 23-man squad, something like that, maybe 15, because Italy, Portugal, even England and Spain, they're all looking to just keep those players in the country, and they can't fly to these red list zones, so it's completely crazy. So yeah, Rafinha should be fine for game week 5 and 6, and even 4. Leave it up to Ronaldo to steal the limelight at the end of this already crazy transfer window. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me thinks that because Messi moved to PSG, he wanted to be the kind of big headline. Of course, we don't know. We assume, we don't know him like that. But yeah, it's a bit crazy, It's just come out of nowhere. A lot of these transfers, you thought Messi would stay at Barca, Ronaldo at Juventus, and in the end, they both move. Love the content, bro. Let's get the win against Man United, says Willy Bolly. Well, yeah, I hope you do, to be honest. Just being completely honest there. And yeah, hopefully you get the win. Jota to Torres, and Dunk to Maguire. Tony to Armstrong, Dunk to Maguire. I wouldn't be doing Jota to Torres, to be honest. I think Jota is still a good option going forward. With Torres, he's always going to be a rotation risk, so I'm not really too keen on that. Dunk to Maguire, I'd probably just prefer Shaw or even Wan-Bissaka. Maguire gets so many yellow cards. Wan-Bissaka never gets them. He's likely to get bonus points, and then with Shaw, he's got the assist potential there. Tony to Armstrong, that actually looks pretty decent on paper, to be fair, but honestly, if I was moving Tony on, it'd either be to get another midfielder in, like a Benrahma, or upgrade him to another more expensive striker who's more reliable. Antonio captain game week 3 at this moment in time, mate, that's what I'm going for, but it's not completely locked in, if I'm being honest. Took out Tony for Armstrong up against the vulnerable Newcastle used. Then I brought in Rafinha for my midfield of Benrahma, Greenwood, Fernandes, Salah, and now Rafinha. Happy with that midfield for a while. I agree, David. The only thing I would say is that maybe now with Ronaldo coming in, Bruno might not be as appealing in the future. But for Game Week 3, should still be really good. And, that's still a very solid midfield. Do we have any news on Salah and his availability for the Leeds game in Game Week 4? Says the Flying Dutchman. Well, at this moment in time, there's not been any kind of recent updates. So maybe 3 or 4 days ago, the Premier League came out with a statement saying that Premier League players won't be allowed to fly to red list countries, and that includes Salah, I think. So he should be fine for Game Week 4 or 5, but there can be a twist to the tail. I think FIFA are actually trying to force the Premier League to let these players go. Because, as I just discussed before, some major nations, especially with players all across the world, they're missing pretty much the majority of their squad because of these rules. When does UCL Fantasy start? Well, you can make a team already, Josh. And I think they haven't added the fixtures yet. But when they do, I'll be making a first draft video, and much more content such as beginners guides, team selections, deadline streams, and all of that. But yeah, in terms of UCL Fantasy, you can make a team right now. And it's been the case for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe I'd say 1 or 2 weeks. What are your wildcard plans? I have none at the moment. I don't want to kind of already commit to a wildcard and say I'm going to wildcard in this game week. I'm not going to change my mind. I said the same thing last week. But yeah, I think it's kind of good to have a plan or an idea, but I'm not really kind of settled on it. What I probably would do is get rid of Bruno and potentially have a placeholder up front, maybe Kane or Lukaku, maybe even Ronaldo himself when the time comes. Who do you support? Don't worry about that, mate. I'm not going to say that. I forgot to transfer out Barnes, so he has now dropped in price to 6.9 million. I don't have enough to get Greenwood, and I already have Benrahma. Is there any other potential transfers, Mount or Tielemans? Says Mickey. I wouldn't be getting any of them in, especially Tielemans. Of course, Mount is a good option. But yeah, as for Tielemans, not so sure. Yeah, of course, it is a bit kind of frustrating not to be able to get Greenwood because of that. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a tough situation. I probably would kind of just stick to Barnes for now and maybe make a move in Game Week 4, especially if you have 2 free transfers. When are you getting in Ronaldo? Says KT. Honestly, I'm not sure yet. Probably I want to see him play a few games first, and if he's looking like the real deal, then I'll probably be getting him in, especially if I have a wild card available. Region in for Digne or Son in for Mahrez? Honestly, that's a really tough question. I'd probably say Son in for Mahrez, although I just don't rate Digne and Everton defence at all. So yeah, I think Region's also a good transfer. Please help. Should I start Buendia or Ayling in my starting 11? Only got 1 spot left. Look, most people would say Buendia, but I'd probably go for Ayling, to be honest. I don't like either of them too much. Captain Antonio spam. Yeah, he's going to be very heavily captained this week, believe me. Although I'm a Liverpool supporter, trust me on the Trent captaincy I hauled with Dallas last season twice. Fair enough, but I'm just not going to be captaining him. I don't have that same feeling, but I can understand why you do. Liam says must be an Arsenal fan. Yeah, you would be right, to be honest. But yeah, either way, I'm mainly looking at international football right now, and I have been for the last few years, really. Yeah, just watching every single international game of my country. But yeah, with Arsenal, yeah, don't even get me started on them. Captain Antonio, Son or Benrahma? From those 3, I think Antonio, but Son is also really appealing. And then if you throw Kane into the mix, I think he's the standout, as I discussed in my Game Week 3 preview yesterday. Game Week 15 onwards for United looks crazy. Crystal Palace, Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, Wolves, Aston Villa, West Ham, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford. How many goals do you reckon Ronaldo will get in there? 30. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Maybe, I have to see. I mean, yeah, across 12, 13 fixtures there that you mentioned, I'd probably say he gets at least 10 goals, but I don't know. Maybe we're kind of, looking a bit too far because he might be rotated in some of those games. There might be other competitions coming into play. But yeah, I mean, I think Ronaldo, especially during that period, he will be heavily owned and captained. Mahrez or Grealish for Game Week 3? I prefer Mahrez on Dying Mafia. And Dylan supports Arsenal. Yeah, unfortunately I do. Josh said, what are your plans for the future? YouTube-wise, FPL looks like it'll be a strong for an age, but would you consider doing anything else? That's a really good question, Josh. I would consider doing other stuff, but, for the time being, yeah, FPL, football content, it's just literally a way of, engaging with the community, talking about football, and that's kind of the main thing for me. But yeah, at the moment, looking to stay in FPL, but there could be other things coming in the future, such as gaming, even films, and football in general. General football chatter rather than just FPL. Come on, you Gunners. Arteta out, though, says Parada. Yeah. Look, I want him to do well, but, kind of looking at it objectively, it's just, I don't think it's going to work out. Think Kane will start versus Watford, but Watford will be dangerous with Sarr. Yeah, I agree with the first part. Sarr is their most dangerous player, but I still expect Spurs to win by 2 or 3. Lukaku's next few games looks a little hard to predict. We'll ship Ings on for Game Week 4. Look, I really like Lukaku. I think he could actually be fixture-proof, but still, why would you pay that much for him during a really tough run when you can get someone else like Kane, for example, and if he starts for the next 2, he could literally get a crazy scores. I have 0.9 million in the bank and a free transfer, Jota, Sarr for Benrahma. I think I've missed the boat. I wouldn't say you missed the boat, to be honest. I think he can do well, at least for the next 2. I'd probably be tempted to get rid of Sarr because Jota, despite probably blanking in Game Week 3, he can do really well after that. Will you wildcard next week to bring in Ronaldo? Definitely not, Peter. I'm not going to kind of just knee-jerk already. I want to see Ronaldo play first before kind of committing to that. Rai says, hey Dylan, how have you been, mate? Top 50k so far this season. Thank you for the help. No problem, mate. And like I said before, it's literally down to your decision making and stuff. It's not like you're copying me and getting a 50k rank. So yeah, really good, mate. Who to get in for Mount? It says Aussie. It depends who else you have. So let me know what your other midfielders are already, so I don't kind of mention someone that you already have. I have Rafinha. Should I bring in Benrahma? Says Kilgore. I wouldn't be getting rid of Rafinha for Benrahma. Even though I expect Benrahma to outscore him for the next 2. But yeah, you could always have both if possible. Ronaldo's as stiff as Robocop, says Just a Critic. I mean, that's quite an interesting way of looking at it. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, maybe. Do 2 free transfers this week or roll and get CR7 Game Week 4. SR to Benrahma, Scarlett to Adam Armstrong, Trent, Shaw, Soufal, Digne, Simicas, Mahrez, Salah, Greenwood, Buendia, Smith Rowe, Antonio, Ings, Scarlett. I wouldn't, look, this is just my opinion. I wouldn't be just already saying, look, I'm going to make a wild card next week or make my 2 free transfers to get Ronaldo in ASAP. I want to see him play first. That's just my opinion, but I can completely understand why some people want to get him instantly. Do you have a lot of friends who play FPL here in the Netherlands? I've met no one so far. I wouldn't say I have many, to be honest, at least from, kind of outside the FPL community and all of that stuff. I know a few people who play it, but they play it casually, really. And, I'd have to say even I do play casually, to be fair. But yeah, they would consider me to be, hardcore because I make videos and stuff and talk to people and all of that stuff. But yeah, not that many, to be honest. Best 4.5 million defender to bring in now? I'd probably say a Spurs defender, Jimmy. I'd say Sanchez, Dyer or Tanganga. It's up to you who you prefer from those 3. Based on the first 2 game weeks and the bonus points so far, I'd probably say Davinson, Sanchez, but they all look good. When to ship out Tony? Probably by game week 5 or 6, especially now, when you want to invest more money into your attack. So one possibility could be Bruno Fernandes and Tony out, for example, in most teams, and then getting in one of those premium strikers and a cheaper midfielder. Grealish, Son, Salah, Mount. Looking to get rid of Mount. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'd be looking to get in Greenwood potentially. Maybe Jota if you can keep up that rich vein of form, or Benrahma. So one of those 3 look like the standouts at the moment. Do we have news on Jay Lings moving to West Ham? This would affect Benrahma. That's true. At the moment, nothing. And Man United fans and West Ham fans alike are still very skeptical of that move actually going through. And I can't even say skeptical. But yeah, honestly, I'm not too sure. At this moment in time, I'd say no. I'd want to actually see more reliable sources saying that. But yeah, it can happen in the future. What's a good 4 to 4.5 million defender? For sure, I have Ayling, Trent, Hoover, Shaw, and the captain of Brentford. Forgot the name. I'd probably say, I'd probably say a Spurs defender once again, around that price range. If not, if you trust Wolves, you could go for Cody. From game weeks 4 to 14, very good fixtures. But then again, you already have Hoover, who, to be fair, he isn't even that nailed anyway. But yeah, I'd say a Spurs defender, Lipuk. Tony to Armstrong, worth a punt. Look, around that price, I think both of those, Tony and Armstrong, are the best at the moment, but I prefer kind of upgrading. If not, downgrading to a 4.5 million and investing more in your midfield. But at this moment in time, there are so many strikers. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, obviously Ronaldo, Kane, Lukaku, Antonio. That honestly, 3 up front could be the way to go. Any merit in bringing Dele this week? Look, I think he could be a good differential this week and the next. But I'd prefer having Son or Kane. So if you can find a way to get one of those instead, even if it's in a few weeks down the line, then I'd go for that. And thank you everyone for still sending in the questions and stuff. Really appreciate it. I'm now going to be going through some of the teams very shortly that have been sent in to me. And remember, you can send in your teams in the live chat and I'll be giving you my opinion. And if you want a rating, I can do that. Although I'll be honest, I'm not too keen on ratings anyway, because it's kind of a very subjective thing and it doesn't mean too much in actual fact, in my opinion. Don't you think Ronaldo versus Newcastle Old Trafford is going to be hard to watch if you don't have him? That's a good point, Pierre. That's a really good point. But then again, you can't have everyone regardless. And one week Ronaldo will be hauling big, the next will be Lukaku, the next will be Kane, then it could be Bruno, Salah, the list goes on, Kevin De Bruyne. So obviously it's very easy to get carried away, but Ronaldo could still be eased into the lineup, just like Varane. Although if you're asking me, I think Ronaldo goes straight in. He's not really the type of guy who's going to be on the bench often. Do you support Arsenal because of Bergkamp? Good question. Honestly, I support them because they're my local team, and also runs in the family. My mother supports them too, and just in general, I connect to them, or at least I connected to them before with the identity they had, the values, the players, the style of football, the brand, Arsene Wenger, all these legends. But yeah, honestly, right now I don't see any of it. If Chelsea get in Koundé, do you feel he'll replace Aspie? Who's going to be more threatened? The thing with Azpilicueta is he can sometimes play right wing back, especially if Chelsea want to be even more defensive, and then they can play free at the back with Rudiger, Christensen, Thiago Silva, or if not Koundé. But yeah, I don't know about that. It's a good point you raise. Who would he kind of displace? I don't think Koundé would start every single week anyway. And the thing with Tuchel and Chelsea, they love to rotate. So honestly, it just gives them more squad depth, more options. I'll be honest, it's just my opinion. I'm not going to claim to be an expert or, say my word is gospel. But from what I've seen from Koundé in the big games, he hasn't really impressed me. I think he's quite weak defensively, but maybe in a solid Chelsea defensive system, I think he could actually do really well. But yeah, honestly, I'm not really that impressed by him myself. No problem, Ozzy. Really appreciate it, mate. I have a strong feeling Salah won't get good FPL points versus Chelsea and Leeds. I feel Liverpool will choke up against these two teams. Thoughts? I agree about the Chelsea one. I predicted a draw in my preview. I'm not sure about Leeds, although I can see why you say that. The reason why I think Liverpool won't slip up, or at least Salah can do very well against them, is because Llorente is out. Of course, he could be back by then, so that could be a big contributing factor. But if Llorente is out, I think Liverpool will beat Leeds by 2 or 3. I'm wildcard in Gameweek 4, definitely not because of Ronaldo. It's already my plan since last week. Ronaldo, Salah, Son, which 3 premiums should I go for? Honestly, look, I'd love to give you a definitive answer, but we haven't seen Ronaldo at United yet. Of course, we have in the glory days for United, but this current United team, we haven't seen that. So, of course, it's very difficult for me to say get Ronaldo now because he might not be as good as we hope, and he could be very expensive. So, honestly, at this moment in time, that's a really good combination you have, because you could also go for Kane instead of Ronaldo, but because you already have Son, you could cover all bases and have Son for Spurs, Ronaldo for United, and Salah for Liverpool. So on paper, that looks really good. But either way, I think the kind of good thing about having someone like Ronaldo is you can interchange between all these premiums. Good prospects for Benrahma then, although I am concerned about Benrahma and Antonio of European matches coming up. Completely agree, and that is what I keep highlighting. I think that could be the kind of undoing of Antonio and all these West Ham assets. And yeah, it could literally be going from double-digit returns to the occasional one here and there, really. Who will take pens, though, says that football fan. Oh, for United, definitely Ronaldo. Yeah, definitely Ronaldo. I mean, look at Portugal, for example, in the Euros. Ronaldo takes all the penalties. He's one of the best penalty takers, at least that's what people think in history. So, yeah, probably Ronaldo. Simicasta who? Livramento or Duffy or who? I already have a Marty. Look, I think Duffy is the best one if he continues to start, but the problem is Veltman is back in Game Week 4, if not Game Week 5, and there could also be other players returning for Brighton. Livramento, look, the thing with him is he's going to continue to start pretty much, and he should be good until he makes a mistake. But the thing with Livramento, if I'm being honest, I don't rate Southampton defensively, so he's literally just a 4 million player who plays every game. He's good cover on your bench. That's literally it. So he's probably the best one. But honestly, yeah, Duffy looks like the best one at the moment until Veltman comes back. So when do we get Ronaldo? Is it in the easy fixture phase or in Game Week 4 or 5? I'd probably say definitely around Game Week 15, as highlighted by the Flying Dutchman. That looks really good. But yeah, I mean, Game Week 4 or 5 might be a bit too premature because we haven't seen him yet. Of course, though, it is Ronaldo. It's not like he's an unproven entity. He's one of the most proven players in history. But yeah, maybe Game Week 5 is a good one. Although, remember, United have very poor fixtures from Game Week 7 onwards. Yeah, I think Llorente's fit, says Frederick. Yeah, that is something I saw, from the Leeds press conferences and stuff like that. It looks like he could be back after the international break. So we have to keep an eye on that. Your second transfer, says Raul. No second transfer. My plan is to kind of hold, at least in this moment in time, and have 2 free transfers going into Game Week 4. That kind of gives me the possibility of maybe shipping out a Fernandes or going with other different options, maybe getting rid of Ings for Calvert-Lewin. But really, in essence, it gives me flexibility, reduces the likelihood of a hit, and I don't want to be playing my wildcard that soon, or at least that's what I think right now. I could change my mind very soon. Yeah, Bielsa estimates Llorente is ready for 90 minutes, says the Flying Dutchman. Yeah, if that's the case, then maybe it could be very similar to last season where Leeds frustrated Liverpool at Ellen Road, so maybe that is actually on the cards. Hello Dylan, not sure if you have answered this question. Keep Barnes and Gundogan for this game week or sell for Greenwood and Dele Alli. Got 1 million in the bank. Look, as much as I think City will beat Arsenal, probably 3-1, I'd probably get rid of Gundogan for Greenwood. That could backfire this week, but ultimately I think if Greenwood continues to start, he's a far better option. So I'd do that. You don't necessarily have to get in Dele Alli as well. Bruno captain over Antonio. I think, look, people are underestimating Bruno in a way. And I have been tempted by Bruno. I've had the captaincy on him. It's just the form of West Ham, the fixture. Palace are really poor. I think Wolves have been a bit unlucky to pretty much be, with 0 goals and 0 points. So that's why I am going with Antonio at the moment. He's got the form and the fixtures, but Bruno's still a good captaincy shout. Vardy captain. I think I ranked him number 5 in my top 5 captains for the week. And I probably maintain the same belief. I think he can do well against Norwich. The kind of only thing there is that if Iheanacho also comes into the mix, the goals can be split between them, and then maybe Harvey Barnes and other players in the midfield like Maddison. So, he's still a very good captaincy option this week. And thank you everyone for all the questions. And if I haven't replied to something you said earlier, you can, put forward the question again, but do not spam the chat, please. Anything that's kind of spammed will not be read out, just to let you guys know. And now, let me kind of talk about these teams that have been sent in to me. And remember, you can do this after every game week. Send a cropped, clean image of your team, either on Instagram or Twitter, and they can be read aloud and also kind of analysed in these videos. So let's actually look at the first one by Abdo Mata. Hopefully I pronounced the name right, and hopefully you can all see it quite clearly. So as you can see here, he's got Sanchez in goal, Ayling, Trent, Luke Shaw at the back, Rafinha, Salah, Bruno Fernandes vice-captain, Ben Rama, Antonio captain, Tony, Ings, and the bench is Steele, Cody, Ben White and Brownhill. So I look at that team and look, Ben White, he has obviously kind of been shipped out by a lot of people, and with good reason. His price is going down, but I think he could be good from Game Week 4 onwards. Of course, in Game Week 3 anyway, you'd never play him. Looking at the starting 11, obviously there's always going to be this kind of captaincy decision between Antonio and Bruno, and honestly, it's really just a 50-50. I personally would go for Antonio, at least in this moment in time. I think he's got the form and fixtures, so you've got a very good captaincy and vice-captaincy there. And to be honest, I look at the team and it looks really good. The only thing I would probably say is that Tony is the one that looks like the weak link, and same with my team as well. And he could be someone you could move on in the future, whether you downgrade him to a 4.5 million striker and then invest more money into your midfield, maybe upgrade Brownhill, or you could just upgrade Tony himself by maybe potentially downgrading someone else like Bruno Fernandes. But this is something to look at in the future. I think for this game week, you don't have to make a transfer. And with Llorente back, I don't know when exactly, but if Llorente returns soon, Ayling should be much better for clean sheets. So overall, that's a solid team. There's no such thing as a perfect team. And you can always move Danny Ings to a premium striker or Calvert-Lewin. So you've got a bit of options there. And yeah, I think this is a good team. If you want a rating, I'd probably say it's an 8 out of 10. Ivan Toney really is the only kind of doubt I have, really. I can understand why you have Cody. I think he could be very good from Game Week 4 onwards. Same with Ben White. But of course, from what we've seen so far, Arsenal have been terrible defensively, and then Wolves haven't been too good, or at least from the actual results. But looks like a really good team, to be honest, Abdo Mata, and it's, I'd say, fairly template, but it doesn't matter. It gets the job done, and yeah, really very small kind of constructive criticism that I have there for you. So moving on to the next team, this is by Jose Retamal. This is the team he has on screen, and some very interesting, kind of picks in there. The kind of thing that stands out to me the most is Reece James. What I would say though is for this game week, and this is kind of a personal opinion, I probably would start Amati or Ayling over Reece James. I like the Reece James pick in general. I think it's a kind of good one. He's very explosive. And what I like about this team is that you have 5 options you play. Obviously, when Vestergaard comes back, you'd probably want to get rid of Amati for another 4 or 4.5 million defender. But at this moment in time, everyone is pretty much playing. You've got defensive depth, so you can afford the occasional benching by Reece James. The only kind of worry you'd have there is the occasional kind of one-pointer when he comes off the bench. But the goalkeeper's fine. Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course. Soufal for this game, it could be very good. I'd personally play Amati or Ayling over Reece James. It's up to you. Bruno Fernandes captain, that's quite different in a way. You know what? I say that. Maybe in the Twitter and YouTube community, I still think he's going to be very heavily captain this week, and maybe even more than Antonio. But yeah, it looks really good, and it's a safe pick. He should do very well. Salah, of course, you can't have everyone. There is Son and Kane who could damage our ranks, but Salah still is a good option long term. So keeping him is a good decision. Rafinha, very good medium to long term. Harvey Barnes, you can get rid of next week. You don't have to get rid of him now. So I like that patience, which I didn't show, for example. Once again, I'd probably say Ivan Toney is the kind of only weak link at this moment in time. But Ivan Toney, despite me saying he's a weak link, I think in the next 2 to 3 game weeks, he can do exceptionally well. That's just my opinion on the matter. And then, Basuma is actually your third substitute or your 5th midfielder. He's not really my favourite from the kind of 4.5 million midfielders, but there's not really much in it. We're kind of talking about who gets 1 point, who gets 2, who gets 3. But Basuma was man of the match against Watford. He was very good in the last game week. But yeah, overall, that's a solid team, to be honest. And I like the Reece James pick in the long term. I'd also give it an 8 out of 10, to be honest. It's a really good team. And once again, Danny Ings to a Calvert-Lewin or a premium strikers on the cards. Even Harvey Barnes, you can move him on to Benrahma or someone else. I think you have a bit of flexibility here, and I really like this team as well. Of course, I always say this, I don't love or like to give ratings out, but I'll just kind of give my opinion there. I don't want to give everyone an 8 though, of course. So this is Wanja Joe, another long-standing viewer of the channel. Really appreciate it, and a different kind of screenshot. And yeah, she's got Sanchez in goal, Tsimikas, Trent, Shaw, Gundogan, Benrahma, Bruno, Salah, Greenwood. Now that midfield on paper looks very, very good. Antonio captain, Ings, and then you look at the bench: Steele, Ayling, Amati, and Perica. So look, in terms of the starting lineup, ways to improve it, I'd probably just bench Tsimikas anyway. I don't expect him to start, and what you run the risk of doing if you start him is he could come off the bench, either for Robertson, or if Liverpool are defending a lead or something like that, or just Klopp wants to tighten things at the back, he could bring him on. So I probably would just bench him. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold to cover a potential clean sheet. So yeah, I'd probably play Ayling instead, or Amati. It's up to you who you go for. I think Amati is more likely to get a clean sheet if he starts, so I'd probably go for him, but obviously keep an eye on the Vestergaard situation. In terms of how to improve the team long term, it's kind of just a personal opinion that I've had from Game Week 1. I don't really think Gundogan's going to be that good of an asset, and I've been talking to Manchester City fans as well, friends that I know, and they also think the same thing. They were telling me even from beforehand, they think Gundogan won't keep it up. So I think Gundogan is someone you can improve on. But looking at the rest of your team, very good. Danny Ings, of course, you can move on to a premium striker, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's kind of the same for everyone who has him. To be honest, it's kind of no-brainer advice. But Tsimikas, I'd bench him for Amati, if not Ayling, and Gundogan, I'd move on for someone else. In terms of who you could go for, you've already got Benrahma, you've got Greenwood. You could potentially go for Jota, but of course that would also mean getting rid of Tsimikas. But yeah, there's different ways you can go about it. Unfortunately, we don't have Harvey Barnes to kind of rely on, but it's still a good team. Antonio captain, Bruno Fernandes vice captain, very popular choices this week, and you should do very well this week. Hopefully you do, and all the best of luck, Wanja. And our Lions is the next one, or Lions. Yeah, hopefully I pronounced that right. Once again, Sanchez in goal, Ayling, Shaw, Trent, kind of, the same story here. Mahrez is in there, though, the first team that I've showed that has him. Bruno Fernandes, Benrahma, Salah, Toney, Ings, Antonio. So the front lines and defences pretty much are all the same that we've seen so far. But he has Livramento on the bench, Amati and Gilmore. So really, in terms of improving the starting lineup immediately, you could maybe go for Amati over Ayling. That's kind of just a personal choice there. I probably would start Tony, even though there is a chance of him blanking, quite a big chance. Still, if Brentford do something, you'd expect it to be Ivan Toney behind it. I think your bench is ordered pretty well. I'd probably go with Amati first at least. And yeah, in terms of the captaincy, Salah's your vice captain, fair enough. I'd probably go for Bruno or Mahrez as your vice captain. But yeah, you know what? It doesn't really make too much difference, you'd think. Antonio captain, solid choice. I think Mahrez could be the kind of differential wildcard explosive pick that could do really well in your team. But going forward, I've said this before with people, and you know, it's just my opinion. I think Mahrez just poses too many kind of question marks, doubts, and you could maybe shift him onto someone else. And he is fairly expensive, so maybe what you could do with his money is invest it into upgrading Danny Ings, for example, and getting that premium striker that is just so coveted at the moment, Lukaku, Kane or Ronaldo going into the future. So yeah, that's what I'd probably say. Invest money from your midfield in the future from Bruno or Mahrez to upgrade your attack. And yeah, going forward, Marty will probably have to be replaced, probably from Game Week 4 onwards, but it's still a very good team. And to be honest, at least for this game week anyway, I really like it. I'd probably say it's a 9 out of 10, you know, for this game week anyway. I just really like that Mahrez pick for some reason. I think he can do very well against Arsenal. And now for the final team that's being reviewed, and remember, this can be a weekly thing. Of course, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. We're going to be looking at Swikar's team. So once again, Sanchez in goal, Shaw, Ayling, Trent. Mahrez is in there as well, yet again, but with the combination of Rafinha, Benrahma, Salah and Fernandes. But what you can see from all these teams really is that the template is stronger than ever, to be honest. Antonio's captain, Danny Ings. So pretty much, you know, it's the same old story. But Rafinha's as vice captain, you know, trying to find some differences here. And I probably would go for Bruno vice captain or Mahrez, maybe even Benrahma or Ings. But you know what, fair enough. Rafinha can still do well. Doesn't really matter anyway. Steele on your bench, Livramento, Andrew, the Norwich defender, and Obafemi. So what I would say about this team is that the bench could be improved, I think. So Livramento, of course, is just a 4 million defender who plays. That's fine. But I probably would be looking to upgrade the Norwich defender to someone else, and potentially Obafemi, especially when you're looking to kind of get these premium strikers at your disposal. So looking at this team, what I probably would say is, yeah, improve your squad depth, and you have to find funds from somewhere. Of course, you can't have everything, but Mahrez would be someone long-term, just like I said to the others, that you could draw money out of. Same with Bruno Fernandes potentially, and upgrade either your bench or also up front. But still a good team. I like it a lot, to be honest. But because of the squad depth, I'd probably say it's a 7 out of 10. But what he actually asked me was about about starting Livramento or Ayling, I believe. And he's gone with Ayling at the moment, and that's probably what I'd go for as well. I wouldn't be going Livramento over Ayling, even though potentially on paper he's a bit more likely to get a clean sheet. But yeah, still, that's a good team. Thank you everyone who sent in your teams, and there will be more of this in the future if you enjoy it. But yeah, of course, you might have completely different opinions about their team to me. And as you can see, a lot of them are quite similar, to be honest. So they're all good teams. The template is very strong. And thank you everyone who did send in your teams. But enough of all that. Here's back to my team, unfortunately. Yay, back to my team. Anyway, yeah, boring. I mean, trying to find some differences here. Yeah, same goalkeeper, same defense, same midfield really, same attack. Why bother doing these videos, you know? But yeah, thank you everyone who is still watching. Over 100 people, really appreciate it. I've probably missed out a lot of questions there, but of course wanted to give detailed analysis on those teams, so apologize for that. So yeah, trying to go for some of the questions from 10 minutes ago quickly. Is Benrahma worth a captaincy punt this game week? I think he's worth it, but honestly, I would probably go for Antonio. The reason why is because his underlying stats are very good, and I think they're sustainable with Benrahma. Even if he has a really good game, he might not even get the points that you want, and in the midfield and on the wings, the goals and the assists can be shared more evenly. With Antonio, he's the focal point of the attack, so I'd rather go for him, but Benrahma is worth a punt. Play Trent or Sarr. Sarr versus Reguilon is a good matchup for the attacker in my opinion. That's a good point, Singh. I'd probably still go for Trent, just because he's fixture proof, and it's still possible for Liverpool versus Chelsea to end in a draw, a goalless draw. Harrison or Adama, please suggest, says Foram. I rather would have Harrison, but what I would say is that Adama is actually posting very good stats. The problem with him is that he's just not clinical and his end product is pretty poor. Template team, nothing to say. Thank you, Captain Jack. Really appreciate it. Ismail says, take one out of Fernandes, Son, and for who? Because I need funds for Kane, Lukaku, Ronaldo. Jeez. I wouldn't be taking any of them out now. Maybe going into Game Week 4. So if you have one free transfer even, just save it. Try to have 2 free transfers going into Game Week 4. Try not to make a transfer right now if possible. What should I do with Mahrez and Stones? I'd probably be getting rid of Stones because I think, and this is something actually a Manchester City fan also told me about, the same one that was adamant that Gundogan wouldn't have a good season FPL-wise compared to the previous campaign. He said that he thinks Laporte and Diaz will be the main partnership. He said this before the Community Shield even. So, he knows his stuff sometimes. And I think that potentially you could just go without Stones and you can go with someone else. So I'd get rid of Stones immediately if you can. Try to go for someone from one of the top teams, the top defences, like a Chelsea, who have good, even if they don't have good fixtures in the short term, they could have in the long term, and you save transfers and all of that good stuff. As for Mahrez, try keep him this week, and then going forward, use that money to either go to someone else in midfield or upgrade your attack. Should I transfer out Mahrez for Greenwood or Grealish? Look, if you're completely set on getting rid of Mahrez, I'd get in Greenwood rather than Grealish. Tony hasn't delivered out for Wilson. Tough one, really tough. Look, I think Wilson will probably outscore him in the next 2 or 3, but Tony, I think he has a goal in him. I'll say that. I think he has a goal in him in the next 2 or 3. But what I'd rather do actually, instead of getting Wilson, is get another striker like Calvert-Lewin, or if not, maybe getting a Rafinha or Benrahma in midfield by making 2 free transfers. And you don't have to make it now. You could make it in Game Week 4 or 5 when you have him. So yeah. Can we send in our teams now for you to rate? In terms of having them on screen, no, because then that would require me to kind of go silent and focus on putting the images on the software and all of that stuff, and I want to be going through all your questions. So try to do them before the live streams and the videos, because every week I'll be doing it. So you can still send in your teams now through the text and I can talk about them, no problem with that. But in terms of if you want them to feature on the actual video, you need to send them in beforehand, before the live streams and the videos. I'll be putting prompts on Twitter, on YouTube community, to obviously just remind you lot that you are able to send in your teams, and then I'll pick maybe 5, maybe 10, depends on kind of the length of the videos for each game week. Should I take a -4 to sell Mahrez for Son? Good question. No, I probably wouldn't, because Mahrez can do really well. I know Son could pay off that hit, but I wouldn't be taking that hit this week. Wildcard for Game Week 4 is surely viable now. It's viable, no doubt about it, Harry. And thank you for tuning in once again. But I just don't think you have to wildcard in Game Week 4. You can still do really well. And especially if you've had a very good start. Why break up the kind of structure of your team and just some of the good players you have just because you have shiny new toys in the Premier League? But of course, it is a viable option, and you could be ahead of the curve by wildcarding early. I'd start James, the fluidity of Chelsea wings, and with Lukaku up top with the game he had last week, I wouldn't bench him. Yeah, you're talking about the team I rated that has Reece James. That's fair enough, that's good to have a different opinion. The only reason I say that is because just looking at clean sheet likelihood, and also Reece James might not even start. I think he will, but there is the odd chance that he doesn't. But yeah, I completely agree, or at least understand why you say that. Ismail says, is it okay to only have one striker, Antonio, with Son, Barnes, Salah, Fernandes, Rafinha? Look, it's okay, but in my opinion, it's better to have 2 good strikers at least, especially now with all these premium strikers coming into town. At least having a Calvert-Lewin in there as a placeholder potentially, or if not, just having Calvert-Lewin there. Don't know if you answered this already, but I'll copy again below. It says, Jay, my team, Shaw, Trent, Soufal, Dyer, Bruno, Salah, Son, Benrahma, Antonio and Ings, Gilmore, Obafemi, Tsimikas. I need 0.2 million to do Ings to DCL next week. What do you think I should do? Thanks. Very good question. Thank you for joining in. Honestly, look, it looks good. You have Dyer. That's a good Spurs defender to have, really. Good strikers. I'd probably be looking, maybe to move Ings on next week for Calvert-Lewin. You don't have to make that move this week. As for the midfield, looks really good. Potentially, you could use Bruno as a sacrificial lamb to maybe invest more money in your attack. and you could just get a cheaper midfielder who offers good value, like a Jota, like a Rafinha, for example. As for your bench, maybe your bench could be improved a bit, especially if Tsimikas loses a spot, which we all expect him to. So really, I'd be looking to improve on Tsimikas, on potentially... on your bench in general. I think your bench could do some work, and also Danny Ings during the tough fixture run, to be honest. Faram says, I've sent a team on Twitter. Yeah, I can reply to you on there afterwards, after the stream is over. But yeah, right now I'm on this. Apologies for that. But if not, you can post your team here as well, and I can answer your questions. I'm quite keen on Tony from watching him. I think he has been unlucky, although there are simply just better options. I think that's the key thing. There are better options. But you look at 6.5 million strikers, who do you really have from that and below? You have Dennis from Watford. You have Armstrong. But other than that, you're just not really sport for choice. The kind of value is to be had in the 7.5, 8 million bracket. And now we're getting all these premiums, coming out of nowhere. My next game week plan is to get Jimenez for Ings and Harrison Adama for Smith Rowe. Is it okay? I think so, for but honestly, I think there are better options than Harrison and Adama Traore. Jimenez could be really good fixture-wise, but then again, you could always go for Calvert-Lewin if you don't have him already. Captain Bruno or Antonio? Ayub says, at this moment in time, I'd rather go for Antonio. That's why I personally have him myself, but they're both good captaincy shouts, to be honest. Force and Rafinha as captain? Not too keen on that, to be honest, because I think Bamford could be the one getting the goals and assists there, and they're just better options across the board. Son, Harry Kane, I think, is the standout. There's Bruno Fernandes, there's Antonio, there's Benrahma, there's Danny Ings, so not really too keen. Also Jamie Vardy, looking at the Norwich players. Let's see, wow, damn, so many questions. Thank you, everyone. Trying to go through all of them quickly. Thoughts? Oh yeah, it's hard to have 2 premium forwards and 1 premium forward in a 3-4-3 or premium mids, but if you do a 3-5-2, you can. Yeah, that's true. That's true, to be honest. I think that's probably the way to go, and having 4 or 5 premiums, that could be the way forward one day, but you just sacrifice the rest of your team so much, and you're prone to some very low-scoring game weeks. Should I captain Rafinha as more people would captain Antonio? And is it hard to go for double points for 3 games in a row? Yeah, I can see why you say that. But then again, just captain the player that you think is going to do the best. So if you think it's not going to be Antonio, then don't go for him, obviously. But in terms of, just going for someone else for the sake of being different, I'm not really, of the opinion of doing that. Of course, you can be different, but try to have some stats or some logic or something behind it. And of course, you could be completely right about that. Rafinha could do really well. No worries, Dylan. We appreciate the effort. Thank you, the Flying Dutchman. Really appreciate it, mate. Grealish and Reguilon worth it? Honestly, I don't think Grealish is that worth it, at least not for the time being. Reguilon, though, I think he's a good option, at least for the first or the next few game weeks. Would you recommend Mings and sub out Bruno, get Son and Ronaldo? I wouldn't recommend Mings, or unless you're talking about Ings. Bruno, get Son and Ronaldo. Yeah, in terms of getting Ronaldo in right now, he's not even added to the game yet. He's not officially signed, or at least the contract and all of that, but yeah, I just wait on that for now. Should I sell Trent and Gilmore for Benrahma and Diaz? I mean, that looks really good on paper, but just getting rid of Trent, he's got very good fixtures long term. I'm not sure about that. And Diaz, his ceiling is just way lower. Game week 4 wildcard with Salah, Kane and Ronaldo. It's on the cards, it's a viable option, as Harry said before, and many others, but I just have an idea about it. I wouldn't just be like, okay, I'm definitely wildcarding, I want this guy in right now. I just kind of reflect on it, especially during the international break. You have a lot of time, especially after the game week 3 games happen. You can look at the data, you can look at the stats, you can look at how teams played with the eye test, and then you can come to a conclusion. So yeah, Wanja Joe says, appreciate the videos as always. Thank you very much, and thank you for sending your team. Very good team that you sent in there, and really appreciate all the support, mate. Everyone has almost the same team. Differential picking will be the difference in game weeks. One suggestion, give tips but don't reveal your team for the game week, else almost everyone will copy. Alright, fair enough, Yarang. It's just that a lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people, some people want to see your teams, and of course I understand that. Some people will copy, but then again, I wouldn't say too many would copy me anyway, but the template is strong, very, very strong, as you say, and 1 or 2 differentials. I thought Barnes could have been it for me, at least for the first few game weeks, and it just doesn't pay off sometimes. But then again, you have someone else like Greenwood, who has very low ownership at the beginning. He does very well, and that gets you into a very strong position. So you're completely right. I think the differentials are what separate you. Just 1 or 2. You don't have to have 3 or 4 or 5. I think 1 or 2 is fine. Hello Dylan, how have you been and how come stream is on tonight, says Adil. As I said before, thank you for joining in once again by the way, is because streaming on the Saturday morning is just kind of a inconvenient time for some viewers, especially across the world and even in the UK, who might not even be on YouTube or actually just be up at that time already. Obviously that could be a bit of a rare case. And also just to differentiate myself from other people, so many people are streaming right now, or at least 1 or 2 hours before the deadline. So just in a way of being different, just streaming every Friday, even if the deadline's on a Saturday, that is the way to go. But of course, based on feedback, I can change that. I even ran a poll earlier. I was willing to potentially stream tomorrow, but in the end, I've gone for today. And yeah, a lot of people were happy with it. Of course, you can't please everyone, unfortunately. What I could do in the future potentially is sometimes do a stream on a Friday where I rate your teams, for example, and then on the Saturday we talk about deadline stream. That will be the deadline stream, and I reveal my team, I lock in my team, as the deadline happens, and we can talk about the lineups and all of that good stuff, pretty much. But yeah, they could be separate streams in the future. Should I keep Kane or swap him for Ronaldo? I'd definitely keep Kane for now, and he's got a very good fixture. If he starts, he's good for gold. He could do exceptionally well. And Ronaldo, just wait for him at the moment. A lot of managers in the top use chips really early. Is it something to look into future seasons? The reason why they're at the top is because they use the chips, but towards the end of the season, a lot of them won't be there. But of course, it doesn't mean that if you use your chips early and if you're at the top early, it doesn't mean you can't maintain that. But it's just very unlikely. So honestly, it's kind of a team dependent thing. Everyone's different. Of course, the template's very strong. Our teams are similar, but we're still different. We're different, got personalities, different mindsets, different ways of playing the game. So honestly, I wouldn't really just look at what they're doing all the time and, say, oh, I need to play my chips early as well. Is Wildcard necessary next week? I think it's a viable option, Chowdhury, but it's not, necessary. What about Luca Digne, says Besho? Look, from Everton, the only ones I'd consider right now is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which I've said pretty much from day one, and Demarai Gray, which is something I've said pretty much since he scored his goal, which is maybe reactionary. But yeah, in terms of Digne and Everton defence, I just don't trust it. And that's the reason why heading into Game Week 1, even before they got thrashed in pre-season by Man United, I just wasn't feeling Everton and Digne. So I went off them completely. And, I just don't look back really. Faram says, you didn't reply to this. I play 3-4-3 because I have Cancelo, Trent, Shaw, Tsimikas, Amati, Dele Alli, Salah, Bruno, Smith Rowe, Brownhill, Ings, DCL, Antonio, 0 in the bank. What to transfer, 1 or 2, and who? I wouldn't make 2 transfers personally. I kind of wait until Game Week 4 and then you have more flexibility. So try to have 2 free transfers heading into Game Week 4. As for players you can improve, look, Cancelo, I like him a lot if he starts, but the problem is that, does he start? Trent, Shaw are fine for sure. I'm guessing you have Sanchez in goal. Tsimikas and Amati. Look, obviously they're very good for the first 2 game weeks, but now they're both going to be losing their spot. I'd expect Amati to start in Game Week 3, but Tsimikas will probably lose his spot, so upgrading one of them is very important. And then, yeah, Dele Alli. Look, he can be a good differential, but ultimately you want Son or Kane, really, from Spurs. Smith Rowe's a decent bench option, but having him start, just not really too sure about that. I like Ings, DCL, Antonio, a very good attacking line, but I think your overall team struggles a bit, or at least your squad depth isn't as strong because of that. So I'd mainly be looking at to improve Smith Rowe, Dele Alli, and one of your defenders, Tsimikas or Amati. DCL, Antonio, and Ings, what do you think? Says Oduro. It looks really good, of course. Try to have a balanced team overall. That's good in midfield and defence, but that front three is very good. What I would say is that going forward, Danny Ings, his ceiling at least will be very low. He can still score against these tough teams, but for example, in Game Week 4, do you expect him to score against Chelsea? I don't, and that's why I probably will be getting rid of him. Just kind of a medium to long term. He doesn't look too appealing. Should I keep Kane or swap him for Ronaldo, says Benjamin? Just keep Kane. Sue, says Edson. Very happy seeing Ronaldo coming back to United. Yeah, I mean, United fans are going crazy, and it's pretty much, the big news of the transfer window, along with Messi to PSG. 98 points, says Ayub. Very impressive, very, very good. Harvey Barnes going to be best, says Amir. I think he's going to do well. I don't know about the best, but I think he can do well. I think Jesus can make points. Yep, and that's another thing that my Manchester City friend told me. He says that Gabriel Jesus, when he starts, will be doing really well, and of course, fantastic performance against Norwich. Does anyone know when Ronaldo will be active in FPL? Says Tarun. Well, as soon as he signs, basically, as soon as he signs the contract and there's official confirmation by the club, within a day or two, he'll be added to the game pretty much. Worth playing Tony instead of having 4 at the back with Digne. Currently benching Digne. Yeah, I'd probably still play Tony instead. And going forward, Digne and Tony, probably 2 players to probably get rid of. Is Canos a good option, says Kose? Hopefully I said that right. Apologies if I didn't. Honestly, from Brentford, Tony's still a good option, but not really delivering at the moment. And then I'd say Mbeumo from 5.5 million. Canos, very explosive against Arsenal, but we need to see more from him first, I think. Amor, thanks for the stream, Dylan. Thank you, the Flying Dutchman. Really appreciate it, and good luck, mate. Hey, lad, should I sell Mahrez to Son for a -4? Yeah, I wouldn't take a -4 for that. If it was a free transfer, then yeah, I would go for it. But a -4, not for me. Why are you not selling Tsimikas? What's your plan? Because I also have Tsimikas. Should we keep him? Okay, yeah, so I did recommend to you to get rid of him, potentially, but the only reason I said that to you is because you have him and Amati, and obviously, you don't have to get rid of Tsimikas now, by the way. That's not what I said. What I was saying is that going forward, you need to improve your defensive depth, because by game week 4 or 5, Vestergaard will come into Leicester, Amati's probably not playing, Tsimikas is probably on the bench too, so you need another defender. In my case, Tsimikas was always going to be kind of my 5th choice defender, and for the first 2 game weeks he would be a starter. I back him to do well, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But of course, in the future, Tsimikas could be making way in my team also. I could be moving him on to another 4 million defender, if not maybe upgrade him to a 4.5 million defender or 5 million, so a Soufal, maybe a Cody, a Spurs defender. Those are kind of some different choices I'm looking at. So yeah, that's the reason why I have him at the moment, but I don't expect him to start really. Should I start Ayling or Amati? Personally, I'd probably go for Amati. But of course, if you have a kind of feeling that Vestergaard will start, then just go for Ayling. What do you think about Gray for 5.5 million? Yeah, I was asked about him before, and I think at 5.5 million he's the best option, along with Mbeumo, maybe one of the Arsenal players, he said Vestergaard, Odegaard or Smith Rowe. But yeah, Gray at the moment is looking like the pick of the bunch, but he's not someone I'd be looking at for my own team at this moment in time. But of course, that could change. Is Kane starting against Watford, and is Reguilon a good option? Reguilon is definitely a good option, and he was actually featuring in my best game week 3 team, which is in my preview that I uploaded yesterday. As for Kane starting against Watford, it's a really tough one, because Nuno might just not see the need to start him because they won without him in the first 2 games. But I think he will start. I think Kane will start. He got good minutes in the Conference League, got 2 goals. I think he will. And if not, after the international break, he should be starting in game week 4. Must I change Salah or Bruno and Tony for Kane and Benrahma? I don't think you have to, especially this week. You don't have to do that. But of course, I can see the appeal of getting rid of Salah this week and getting Kane in and Benrahma. But you'd probably want Salah back in the future as well. You can't have everyone. When does Ronaldo become available? Yeah, like I said before, mate, it's 1 or 2 days after the actual contract is signed and the official announcement of him being a United player is done. Will there be an update to add Ronaldo, or does he just appear once the game week begins? Yeah, just as I said to Rune, it's literally just 1 or 2 days he's added to the game. There's not really an update that needs to be had that you need to download. It's not like a PS5 game, but yeah, he will be added to the game very shortly. Barnes and Benrahma, says Ahmed. Yeah, both very good. Of course, I got rid of Barnes to get Benrahma in. Calvert-Lewin or Harry Kane? I mean, look, this week if Harry Kane starts, he's definitely the better option. Harry Kane is going to score more points than Calvert-Lewin when they both start. That's pretty much the kind of the bread and butter of it. But Calvert-Lewin could offer very good value, and you can maybe save one of the other forward spots for a Harry Kane or someone else. Will Jota still keep his place, or do I bench him for Bissouma? Yeah, I think he should still start. The problem with Jota is he plays Chelsea, but you'd still expect him to continue to start most games with the form he's in. So yeah, I wouldn't be benching him for Bissouma. Jota's just more explosive. He's more likely to score a goal. Bissouma's most likely going to get you 3 points max. Rafinha for Dele Alli, worth it? Look, I think Dele Alli could do very well in the next 2 game weeks, so if you have him, keep him. But you know what? That's probably perfect, because in game week 5, Leeds have very good fixtures. You can make that swap instantly for Ram. Aranya says, my team is Digne, Tsimikas, Shaw, Bruno, Salah, Mahrez, Dallas, Ings, Tony and Wilson. Got 1 free transfer. Who should I replace and whom should I get except the West Ham player? 0.5 million in the bank. Honestly, if you got one free transfer, I'd probably try to save it and have 2 free transfers heading into Game Week 4. It just gives you more flexibility, and if you kind of change your mind about something, especially with one of the forwards, you can always get one of them in. But in terms of transfers you can make right now, or at least players that I'm not really too keen on from your team, I'd probably say Digne. I don't really like him. Tsimikas is someone that will probably not start anymore. Dallas, I'm not really a big fan of him as a midfielder. The rest is good though, although Tony, he's someone else that could be improved, but yeah, the rest looks pretty solid. Currently, Son captain, also got Salah, Fernandes, Antonio. That looks really good. Ismail, you're very set for this week, and good luck with that. Hopefully it goes well. I want to remove either Salah or Bruno and Tony for Kane. What do you think? Says Ashraf. I wouldn't be getting rid of them right now. Yeah, because look, honestly, if you were to get rid of one of them now, it'd be Salah because of the 2, at least this fixture coming up. But you don't have to do that, and Harry Kane might still be easing back in. So yeah, not sure about that. No problem, Tarun. What would Ronaldo's price be in FPL? Obviously, I can't tell you for sure, and of course, I invite all of you to give your predictions for Ronaldo's price in FPL. What do I think? I think he's going to be 12.5 million, I think, and maybe 13, maybe. But I think, yeah, 12.5, 13 million. I'd be surprised if he's cheaper. Will Bruno go back? Will Bruno go to back Burnley? Or Burner? Oh, back Burner. Maybe, to be honest, maybe. He's going to be second choice in penalties, in terms of free kicks as well. Let's see if Ronaldo actually scores one. What do you think of Danny Ings as captain? He's, I'd say, top 10 captaincy picks this week. And just because he's not in my top 5 or top 3, it doesn't mean he's not a good one. He can still outscore most of the heavily captained players. Yeah, I think he's a good one, but I personally prefer Antonio, even Bruno Fernandes, Harry Kane, Son, Jamie Vardy, but of course he's still a good option. Cancelo will start as he plays on both flanks. Mendy banned anyway. That's true, but there's also, there are other options as well. When Zinchenko, he was at least the first choice left back towards the end of last season, and Cancelo just fell out of favour out of nowhere. He was really good up until January, February, and then he was just kind of in and out of the team. But yeah, Cancelo should continue to start, but just keep an eye on that, because out of nowhere Pep can bench him. Got 2 free transfers, but my team is good. I still have Tsimikas. My attack is Antonio, Ings, and Tony. So what should I do? If you have 2 free transfers, you could potentially make 1, but I'm not sure how much money you have, Adil, in the bank. Yeah, if I don't use a transfer from 2 free transfers, do I keep the 2 or does it reset to 1? It stays at 2, but you burn a transfer. So in essence, you miss the opportunity to make an extra transfer, which you could have obviously made. But yeah, you don't lose a transfer. You don't get reset to 1. My differentials this week is Barnes and starting with Livramento. Hope it goes well for them. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. And I'm not too keen on Livramento, at least from a defensive point of view. But, a 4 million defender who starts, you can't complain too much. And Barnes, yeah, I mean, I got rid of him myself. And to be honest, I'm expecting him to do well. Please, around, or is Ronaldo the Manchester United player now? Please. Well, Ronaldo will be a United player pretty much, yeah, unless there's another twist to the tail, but yeah, he will be. You can't add him on FPL yet. 12.5 for Ronaldo will squeeze every FPL player, says Arun. Yeah, I think it will be though, because, you look at Salah, he's 12.5, now 12.6. Yeah, I think he would be, to be honest. Do you think Veltman will start after the international break? I think he will, Amir. That's based on the kind of comments we got from Graham Potter and Brighton and the press releases. Yeah, I think Veltman will be starting in Game Week 4. If not, it will be Game Week 5. But he's got 1 or 2 weeks pretty much, from now up until Game Week 4 to recover. Livramento or Duffy for the next 3 weeks? I would say Duffy, but this is the thing. If Veltman is back, he's probably going to be benched. So Livramento is probably just a safer pick, but I just don't trust Southampton. So you can see why I'm not really too keen on these options, but I'd probably say Livramento. Tsimikas to Livramento? Yeah, pretty much a 4 million defender who plays. That's fair enough. We're not going to be, these Tsimikases and Amatis of the world, they're just too unrealistic to happen. They might happen for 2-3 weeks. They start, but then after that, they're just going to be second fiddle, really. So yeah, I'd say Livramento is a good one. No problem, Ismail. So why are you not captaining Bruno? So obviously, look, just because I'm not captaining doesn't mean I don't think he's a good option. It doesn't mean you shouldn't captain him. But the reason why I've gone for Antonio is because he has the form and the fixture. And of course, Bruno does have form. You look at Game Week 1, you look at the pre-season. But Antonio, what I really like about him is the opponent. Crystal Palace, in terms of at least, offensive statistics, the worst in the league. So they absorb a lot of pressure. And defensively one of the worst teams also. They just struggle to dominate games, to get a foothold, and they just concede so many chances, and they just don't have quality, Palace. They could actually be relegated, to be honest, and Vieira could be one of the first managers to be sacked. That's a possibility. West Ham are in such fine form, and Antonio has so many other players who can supply him, like Benrahma, Fornals, Bowen, you name it, and Antonio's just in electrifying form. That's why I'm going for Antonio. Also, if you kind of look at stats, he's got the highest expected goals of any player. He's got the most shots, and just in general, Antonio's been very, very good. So that's why he's my captain, but Bruno can still do really well. Never forget the Salah Rocket versus Chelsea 2-3 seasons ago at Anfield. I remember it. I watched that game, but then again, one goal compared to the potential 2 or 3 by someone else. But then again, who knows with Salah and Liverpool? They can turn it up against anyone. It's just I think the ceiling will be very low in that match between Chelsea and Liverpool. I've got Kane captain. Is that good? Look, if you have Kane, if I had him, I'd definitely captain him, even though he's a risk to start. I wouldn't say a big risk, but yeah, I'd definitely go for that. Bruno still on pens? Yeah, in Game Week 3 he is, but then when Ronaldo comes in Game Week 4, forget about it, mate. Absolutely forget about it. Should you take out Bruno for Son? Not this week. Maybe going forward, that's a possibility. Maybe Game Week 4, for example. But right now, no. Rafinha as a captaincy option. I was asked this before, and look, he's a good one. There's no doubt about it, but I wouldn't be going for him myself, even if I had him. What, in your opinion, is the best differential double transfers would you recommend for Game Week 3 that could pay off? Look, if you're making 2 free transfers and you want to make them now, probably a Son or a Kane. Getting one of them in and captaining them, potentially. That's what I'd say. When will Robertson be back? He's already in training, Arun, and he said basically that he's fit and available and he'll play whenever need be, and he should be fit for the rest of the season. So Robertson is back. Very difficult captaincy choice. It's only going to get tougher from here, mate. With Lukaku, with Ronaldo, with Kane, with Salah, with De Bruyne. My head is spinning. Bruno Fernandes. I'm losing count of all these players. I have 0.5 million in the bank with Tsimikas, and the rest of my team is basically yours, except I have Soufal, not White. Yeah, I'd much rather have Soufal than White, to be honest. That's looking pretty good. Should I try get Trent in, says Super. I wouldn't break your team structure or take hits or even make 2 free transfers to get Trent in right now. But yeah, if you can just make it in one move, then yeah, go ahead. Would you go Cancelo or Walker? I'd rather have Cancelo probably, but that's the thing. I just don't want to really go for a City defender other than maybe Diaz because he's nailed. Tony not doing it, time to get rid, says Dominic. Yeah, a few people have said that today. And of course, look, he's 6.5 million, I didn't have too many expectations for him, but I thought he would have scored 1 goal by now. But it's very early, it's just 2 game weeks. I'd still think he can do well within the next 2 or 3. But ultimately, you look at the other options in midfield, at the same price, there are better. Benrahma, even Sarr. Damari Gray's looking better. There's different players you can go for. Benrahma, I think, Rafinha. I think I said one of them already. And then up front, probably just investing more money into a 7.5, 8 million, or even a premium striker makes more sense. And then, of course, if you just want another striker at a similar price, maybe Armstrong is the one to go for. If Ronaldo starts in Game Week 4, then Bruno could be a big differential because all will go behind Ronaldo. Potentially, but some will even maybe double up on Bruno and Ronaldo. Not many, though, I'll admit, but yeah, he will be more of a differential than he was before. But just because he's a differential, what does that mean, really? Because he's not going to be on penalties. He's not going to be on as many set pieces. I still think, look, a lot of people think he's completely done as an FPL asset. I don't think he is. I think he'll still do really well, probably hit 200 points, but I just don't really see him matching what he was doing last season with Ronaldo in the mix, especially taking the penalties away. But I think he's just still going to be good. Smith Rowe or Odegaard, both around 5.5. Arsenal easy fixtures after Game Week 4. I prefer Damari Gray and Mbeumo at this point, but they're both worth monitoring as well. I mentioned them before. Honestly, look, if I had to say, I'd probably say Odegaard, but I'm not really too sure about that. It just depends on how Arsenal line up. So if Odegaard starts in the middle, which he probably will, and Smith Rowe starts, he'll probably be shifted out to the left, and then maybe Aubameyang will be up front. Smith Rowe will be doing the dribbles, carrying the ball, linking up with the wingers, the fullbacks, and also the attacking midfielder. But Odegaard will be more likely to get assists. Either way, they're 5.5 million. They're not going to be consistent returners, so just bear that in mind. But yeah, I think they can be decent. Son, Salah, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio. Which one's the best for captain? Out of those lot, I'd probably say Antonio, and if not Son. And Amine Med. Son or Antonio captain? at this moment in time, I'll just say what I said before. Antonio for me, but Son's a really good one too. Did Mahrez plus fodder to Benrahma plus DCL. Now worried no extra free transfer to manage all the new big boys. Yeah, I can understand why, mate. No extra free transfer. Yeah, that's the problem, when you make 1 or 2 free transfers now and then you don't have them going into next week. You're kind of a bit stuck if you don't have those 2. But you know what? You can still do well. Benrahma and DCL, they're good moves. You made them for a reason. I think they can be good. Sanchez has an orange Brighton goalkeeper shirt for me. Better kit. Yeah, for a second I thought you meant an orange sign for an injury. I was a bit scared there, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have that, to be honest, but it is what it is, Maybe I'm a bit outdated. Hey Dylan, you didn't answer my question about the best 5 million below defender apart from Soufal, and do you think Ayling is good? Kevin, I don't want to argue with you, but I actually did answer your question, and I said that, in my opinion, it's probably a Spurs defender. So either Sanchez, Dyer, or Tanganga. And if not, you could go for a Cody, game week 4 to 14, very good fixtures, and maybe just a 4 million defender, a cheap one who just plays. Sissoko 4.5 million for Brownhill, plays for Watford now. Shall we pick? You two have Brownhill. I wouldn't be kind of prioritising 4.5 million midfielder moves. So, of course, if you have no other transfer to make, you don't want to burn a transfer, go for it. But I wouldn't be, actively looking to change my 4.5 million midfielder. Do you think Greenwood might be benched from more now? From Game Week 4, want him to start against Newcastle? I think so. United have so many options. Just think about it. They have Sancho, they have Cavani, they have Ronaldo, they have Bruno Fernandes, they have Rashford coming back, Greenwood, Daniel James. Surely 1 or 2 of them are going to be loaned or sold or something. Martial too, I forgot. So we're talking about 6 or 7 players really. But yeah, he's going to be rotated from time to time. What I really like about Greenwood at the moment is that he's relatively nailed and he can play up front and on the right wing, and he's just so clinical. He can get bonus points. He's got good fixtures. That's why I went with him. But long term, I always kind of knew the risk, and right now with Ronaldo coming into the mix as well, yeah, it's just going to be more complicated. If you have Son and Antonio, who would you captain? Just the same as I said before, Antonio, I'd still go for him probably, but there's not much in it between him and Son. I have Laporte as a 1-week punt. Do you think he'll start tomorrow? A 1-week punt on the defender? I'm not sure about that, to be honest, but fair play. I think he will start. I think actually Pep said he's going to start. I'm not sure about that, but I read somewhere that he is going to start. Should I put Lukaku captain? Not for me. In future game weeks for sure, especially game week 7 onwards, but I wouldn't be doing that right now. Start Trent or Dyer? That's tough, man, because how would you bench Trent really? But the fixture's very tough, and yeah, that's tough. That's really tough, man. I wouldn't be benching Dyer this week because I think Spurs are likely to keep a clean sheet. I know some people think that Sarr or Watford will just snatch a goal in general, but I'd probably just go with Dyer. I know that sounds really weird. Who to captain, Kane, Son or Salah? I'd go for Kane, mate. I'd go for Kane. Ashraf says, sorry I didn't mention that I wanted to remove either Salah or Bruno and Tony for Benrahma and Kane for Game Week 3, and I still have 0.5 million left. Yeah, I get that. But either way, long term, I'd say getting rid of Bruno instead of Salah is the right thing to do. But for now, at least for Game Week 3, I think Bruno will outscore Salah. With your team as it is, would your transfer just be Tsimikas or White swap to use the transfer? I'm not using my transfer, mate. I already used one transfer. Barnes to Benrahma. I'm saving my other one. And I'm going into Game Week 4 with 2 free transfers, giving me more flexibility heading into the international break. But of course, I can see why you say that. In terms of what moves would I make, Danny Ings to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, potentially, if not maybe 2 free transfers, getting rid of one of my premium midfielders and getting a premium forward like Harry Kane. That's on the cards. I just think that, these moves that have happened recently, Lukaku and Ronaldo, it kind of changes the complexion of FPL. Before, we were kind of happy to go with 7.5 million strikers up front, and now it's just looking so tempting to get a Ronaldo or Lukaku or Harry Kane. So at this moment in time, the kind of defenders, I'm leaving them. Even my 4.5 million defender, I'm just happy with them. Ben White, I'm not really too keen on him right now, but good fixtures from Game Week 4 onwards. Hopefully Arsenal pick up and sort things out at the back. So really, I'm just looking to change my midfield and attack, really. But I could change my mind. I'll let you guys know, of course, in future videos. And what I want to be is open-minded and flexible, but at the same time have a plan. So that's why I kind of try to encourage different options. Best midfielder for Man City? I think Mahrez still, honestly. I'd probably say Mahrez. Yeah, Rania, I already answered the question. And Dallas, Tsimikas, at least going forward, and Digne would be players I'd be looking to get rid of. In terms of a transfer right now, it looks like probably your defense is what you need to make a transfer in, because you only have Digne, Tsimikas and Shaw, and Tsimikas probably won't play, so I'd probably be looking to get rid of him. But then again, I wouldn't be taking a hit to maybe upgrade Tsimikas, which is what I would want to do in your situation. Man U fixtures from Gameweek 14, yeah, exactly, Amir. That's where a lot of people will be having Ronaldo. Trust me, by then he's going to be their most heavily captain player and all of that stuff. You've answered more than 10 of my questions so patiently. Very happy, thank you. Subscribe and we'll join you every week. Thank you, Farham. Very appreciate it so much. And yeah, I try my best. It's very difficult though, of course. When so many people are putting questions, which of course I encourage and want, it's very good for the discussion to always happen. And I always encourage you lot as well to answer each other's questions and, feed off each other's ideas. But yeah, really appreciate your feedback, mate, and hope to see you in the next stream as well. Arun says, is 3-4-3 a good plan going forward? I see lots of goals as spectators are back and big guns are back in EPL. Yeah, I mean, typically 3-4-3 is the most popular formation, but what I always try to say to people is don't think about the formation as such. Just think about the players you're getting in. Of course, the kind of big appeal of having 3 strikers right now is that we have 3 premium forwards to choose from, and we also have so many good options around 7.58 million. If Iheanacho becomes a starter, he's very good. We have Antonio, we have Danny Ings, we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we have Bamford, who I haven't even mentioned in the stream at all today, and I think he could actually be really good in Game Week 3 and from Game Week 5 onwards. So yeah, I think at the moment in time, I want to go with 3 up front. I was considering going with 5 in midfield and downgrading Tony, but right now, I'm actually kind of happy that I went from Barnes to Benrahma, and I am thinking of maybe moving Tony up to a premium forward. But of course, everything is kind of cloudy at the moment. I'm not completely settled on that. Benjamin says, can I send a pic of my team to get your opinion? You can for future videos and stuff, but as for the video right now, it would take me time as well to kind of go off audio and stuff like that and off camera to actually put your team across. But of course, you can always send in your teams on Twitter and Instagram. It's Dylan_RCM. You can see my my handles either on my kind of channel banner on my channel or just in general. I think at the end of this video, I'll put the that usernames in there, and yeah, I am waffling at the moment, but yeah, you can do that literally every single week. What the plan will be is either to do a live stream or a video where I rate your teams in detail. So it could either be a separate stream, so in a deadline stream 1 hour or 2 hours before the deadline, and the night before I rate your teams and I dedicate the stream to talking about all of your teams in detail. Tsimikas to die in a 4-3-3 or Brown to Rafinha in a 3-4-3? That's a tough question. I like Rafinha long term, Dylan Subata, so I'd probably go for that. Is Wilson a good captaincy punt this week? It's an interesting one, it's a different one, but to be fair, I mean, my prediction was a 2-2 in that game for the Newcastle one, and I think Wilson could even arguably score 2 goals, so maybe it makes sense, but it's just, I wouldn't go for it myself, maybe it's too bold for me. But yeah, I think it's a good one, but I probably would just go with, one of the kind of obvious ones, really. I kept Barnes, fingers crossed. Well, good luck to you, even though I got rid of him. Good luck to you. I think Barnes could actually do really well this week. Should I sell Martinez for Sanchez? No, especially this week. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Is Ronaldo going to be a forward or midfielder? Good question. I think he's going to be a forward, but there is the odd possibility he's going to be a midfielder, but he tends to play as a striker or kind of, a free roaming forward at Juventus. So you would expect him to be a forward. In Euro Fantasy and UCL Fantasy, he's always a forward, so I'd expect the same there. Is Livramento going to start the upcoming game weeks? I think so, and actually what we saw in the Carabao Cup is very promising. So Kyle Walker-Peters played instead, and I think even at left back, and Livramento wasn't even on the bench, so it looks like he's being saved for the Premier League. So in my opinion, he is going to continue to start, but of course that could change in a week or two's time. Odegaard is one to look out for. I agree, Kai, especially around the 5.5 million mark where we're kind of not given too many options. There's also Damari Gray, Mbeumo, and also Smith Rowe. Spare a moment for all those who use chips in Game Week 1 and 2. That's got to suck, says Martin King. But maybe they got so many points in those weeks. I'm pretty sure some got 140 points or something. I'd be very happy with that in a normal game week. But of course, yeah, with all these options now, I mean, I just hope FPL one day kind of take UCL Fantasy's idea of limitless chip, and you can have Lukaku, Kane, Ronaldo up front, and then just your midfield would be insane. But yeah, maybe I'm being a bit too hopeful there. Do you think Semedo could be a good option? He could be, but from Wolves, I wouldn't even be prepared to spend 5 million or more. I'd just be looking at their cheaper assets like Cody. I just haven't seen enough from Wolves, even from Semedo, to kind of warrant a more hefty price tag. Shaw and Ayling or Trent and Livramento? Good question. I think as a duo, Shaw and Ayling are superior, but Trent is just so good. He kind of covers two players in himself, but Shaw and Ayling is probably better, Benjamin. Start Harrison or Ayling? Very good question, Gaurav. I actually backed Harrison to be a very big scorer this week in my preview, so I'd probably go for Harrison. Kane and Traore or Son and Pereira, Leicester? Good question, Uros. Very good question. I'd probably go for Kane and Traore, but I'm not keen on Traore if I'm being honest. Martinez, Amati, Reguilon, Mings, Salah, Benrahma, Son, Harrison, Pogba, Antonio, Ings. What do you think? I think it's very good. I prefer Greenwood over Pogba, but still very good to have him. Going forward, Amati and Mings. Maybe two players to look out for to improve, but the rest looks very solid. Obviously, Ings to Calvert-Lewin or Bamford, or even to a premium forward is on the cards too, but that looks really good, Med. Has Man United turned into a big rotation risk by having big guns, and City has reduced that risk going forward? The thing is with Oli though, his kind of main players like Bruno Fernandes, like Ronaldo, they're just kind of always playing. It doesn't matter what happens. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as City, for example. I know they have a lot of options and squad depth now. Mainly what we're looking at squad rotation for is players like Greenwood, but in terms of Ronaldo and Bruno, I'd expect them to start pretty much every single week when available, unless they're being rested for a very important game. When will Ronaldo be added to the game, day or time? I couldn't give you an exact day or time. It ultimately depends when the announcement is officially made. Of course, I know Man United posted something, but I mean when he's actually signed on the dotted line, and when he's just a player, he's the United player, and it's all officially done, all the paperwork's done, and then from a day or two after that, FPL will add him in. But it might be even slower because it's the international break, but it is possible. Digne to Reguilon, I think that's a very good move for the next few weeks, Shrey, to be honest. And if not, you can always go for someone else like a Chelsea or City defender. Arsenal have good fixtures coming up. Who do you think is the best Arsenal asset? Great question, Dominic. I'm not really too keen on Arsenal, but I think Ben White at 4.5 or 4.4 million now, I think he's probably one of the better ones. Other than that, I think Pepe as a differential could be good, but the reason why I'm not too keen on him myself is because at the same price you can get Greenwood, you can get Jota, you can get Benrahma, who just are better at the moment as FPL assets. Aubameyang could be an interesting one. I know he scored a hat-trick against a very poor team, but I think he could actually feed off having fans back in the stadium, and I think he could actually, get back to his form from 2 seasons ago, because let's remember, he's only had one bad season and he still scored double digits. He didn't even play that many minutes. I think Aubameyang could still be really good, but at that price, you can get Vardy, you can get all these kind of big premium strikers in the game, or invest it into your midfield. So honestly, I'm not really too keen on Arsenal. I'd have to wait and see. Maybe one of the 5.5 million midfielders too. If I had to pick one player, I'd probably just say Ben White, just for the simplicity and having good squad depth in your defence, to be honest. Greenwood or Grealish for Mahrez? Definitely Greenwood, Thierry Henry. Don't worry, Dylan, your goalkeeper Sanchez is supposed to have the black kit. Orange was last season. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that's true, actually. I remember he had the orange kit in one of my first few videos. I'm not sure why it's different for some people, but yeah. If you had the team you have now with 2 free transfers, would you take out a big player or a 4.5 million or lower? Good question. I'd probably take out a 4.5 million or lower, or if not, maybe Ivan Toney, potentially. But yeah, that's a good question. Are Salah, Ronaldo, Trent the 3 must-haves this season? No, I definitely wouldn't call Ronaldo a must-have right now. I don't want to see him play first. Salah and Trent are close to it in their positions, but yeah, I wouldn't say they're must-haves. As you can see right now, we have so many options. There's different ways of going about it. I don't think anyone is absolutely essential. Backman's such a bad FPL asset. I mean, it's early days, but yeah, he's not getting the save points. He's not getting the clean sheets. I think, yeah, going for Sanchez is just much simpler, to be honest. But of course, that could change in a few weeks' time. Son and Benrahma or Kane and Adama Traore? Son and Benrahma look better, mate. Uros, that looks like a much better duo. I'd probably go for that. Ronaldo thoughts? Okay, so in terms of Ronaldo, I haven't talked about him too much. And of course, he is one of the big topics of this video. So what I would say is the kind of main thing about him joining United is his impact on Bruno Fernandes. Now, I said this before to other people. In my opinion, Bruno is still a very good asset in FPL, still one of the best, but he's not as good as he is before. Just getting penalties away, even free kicks and set pieces, I just think that reduces his appeal significantly. And I can see by the time, for example, Gameweek 14 comes, when a lot of people will have wildcarded, when United have exceptional fixtures, most people will be opting for Ronaldo instead. But Bruno could be a nice differential by then. That's, okay. I think Man United now have too many forwards. They can't keep everyone happy, of course. Even if they have all these different competitions which they can compete in. Daniel James, Greenwood, Martial, Sancho, I'm losing count, Cavani. Did I say Martial? Probably did. Ronaldo, Bruno. There's so many different options in the attacking positions that honestly you'd expect one or two of them to go out, and I still expect the kind of main players like Bruno and Ronaldo to play every single game. But what that means for the likes of Greenwood is that they're going to be occasionally rotated, and they can maybe sometimes be playing other competitions more often, like the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, or even the Champions League. So yeah, I think Ronaldo, what it does is it elevates United's attack definitely, and I think as an FPL asset, he's one to kind of wait and see, in my opinion. Of course, some people will be jumping on him already. I completely understand that. He's completely proven. He's done it in the Prem before. It's just he's 36, and yeah, he's age-proof, but there might be better options. That's just what I'd say. We still have to wait for his price. I think he's going to be 12.5 million, maybe even 13. But yeah, it should definitely be very good. Interesting times ahead for sure. And Ronaldo is back in the Premier League at United, not City. Just absolutely crazy. Ings to DCL this week or next week, says Josh Barrell. Next week, not this week, in my opinion. I think Ings could outscore him this week. Son or Antonio, who to captain? I'd go for Antonio, but you know what? If you have a good feeling about Son, go for him. Ronaldo 12.5. Yeah, I agree. Cassie, if I said that right. I go down to these defenders. Equals Matt Ritchie, Semedo, Ayling. Are these okay if I have to target Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane? They're okay. I think Ayling would be the best of the bunch, but I'm just not too keen on any of them. I wouldn't be compromising the rest of your team to kind of facilitate Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane. I try to have a balanced squad still, but that's just kind of my way of looking at it. Some people are going to be going for 4, maybe even 5 premiums, and I understand that completely, but you are kind of to the bare bones. You're being stripped to the bare bones in other positions, so try to have a good team all round. Shaw, Trent, Mings or Dyer? Trent, Target. Good question. I'd probably go for the first set because Target is going to occasionally rotate with Ashley Young, and also, to be honest, with Mings or Target, I wouldn't be going for either of them because, yeah, Villa can do really well in Game Week 3, but if you look at their fixtures from Game Week 4 onwards, it's very poor, grim reading, so I try to avoid them, to be honest. I can see now City will go for Lewandowski. Yeah, I agree, Rafael, and I'm guessing... Well, actually, I don't want to assume something. They really want a striker. Kane staying at Spurs, Ronaldo going United, and Lewandowski wants to leave Bayern. Yeah, that's actually a good shout. And also, he's been managed by Pep before. I think he could be insane in the Premier League. Could you imagine if Lewandowski comes to the Premier League? Yet another striker, premium striker, around 12.5 million. Oh my God, don't... I think, we've already got enough. We've been sport for choice. We're never going to be getting another... I nearly said deadline stream. We're never going to get another transfer window like this, I think, in a very long time, In what transfer window does both Messi and Ronaldo move clubs? And then you have all this other business like Harry Kane. Oh, it's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Now when everyone is so heavy on West Ham and Antonio captain, it would surprise me if they lost 1-0 and Antonio misses a pen. I think last season, actually, Antonio... I think he was heavily captained in 1 week against Palace, and I think he hit the post, he hit the bar, he had the highest XG for the week, the most shots, and he blanked. So, that, you know what? Maybe you are onto something there. Gundogan out for Rafinha. Look, I think he can do well against Arsenal, but I'd probably, get Rafinha in. Whether it's now or in Game Week 5, it's up to you, but I think Rafinha is a better option long term. Rafael says, it's just Bruno too expensive now and definitely not worth 12 million. Well, I think for Game Week 3, he still is worth it because he's got penalties and set pieces available. But yeah, I think long term now, Bruno Fernandes just isn't as valuable as he was before. What happens to Martial and Cavani? Good question, Aaron. Well, I'm not sure exactly who at United in terms of the forwards, but I think 1 or 2 of them will be loaned or shipped out. It could be Daniel James, it could be Martial or Cavani. Probably Martial, but you know what? Yeah, I think one of them could be sold. I want Elanga to get some minutes for Man U. It's not going to happen, mate. Maybe in the Carabao Cup or FA Cup, but it's not happening in the Premier League or Champions League. Not for now, anyway. Is Ronaldo in the game? He's not yet, Rufus. Not as far as I'm aware, he's not. Region or Soufal, also good luck. I think long term I still prefer Soufal, but for the next few weeks I think Region is better. Should I sub out Salah for Bruno? I wouldn't be getting rid of Salah now, even though he's got a very tough fixture. And just bringing in Bruno now, I'm not too sure about that because we're just not exactly... We don't have a good idea of how he's going to be in the future. We still need to see how he plays with Ronaldo. If we actually look at the Euros as a kind of very small sample size, when both Bruno and Ronaldo played, Bruno Fernandes was creating a lot of chances. He was very unlucky not to haul in game week 1 against Hungary, but in all the other game weeks, Bruno was just nowhere near the talisman, and there were other options elsewhere like Bernardo Silva. Something similar could happen at United where he kind of takes a step back from the goals and assists and, this kind of insane rate he's going at and all the FPL points. I still think he's going to score 200 plus potentially, but I just don't really see him being as influential, to be honest. How much will Ronnie cost? I think 12.5 or 30 million, Mr. Man. Greenwood is a superb player. This kid will be lost in such a big pool. I hope good for him. Why can't Arsenal go all out to pick him in? Well, Arsenal just don't have the pool anyway, and Arsenal have so many kind of other issues anyway. They need a right back. But yeah, to be honest, a forward like Greenwood would be good, but it's just not going to happen. And to be fair, Ronaldo will probably be there for 2 or 3 years. I don't know exactly how many years his contract is. I'm guessing it's 2 or 3. After that, Greenwood could become the kind of main man there. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame for him in a way. But he can still play on the right wing sometimes. Then again, though, is he really? You would suspect it will be Bruno attacking midfield. It will probably be Pogba and maybe Fred or McTominay or Matic in the midfield. It will be Rashford on the left, Ronaldo up front, Sancho on the right. That's what you would think. But of course, Oli sometimes changes things about, and he could have Greenwood up front, but then again, is it going to happen now with Ronaldo? I don't think so, actually. City should buy Muriel, easy 30 plus goals. I don't think so, Amir, honestly. Muriel's been doing very well in Serie A, even I'd say for Colombia recently, but nah, he hasn't actually. Nah, to be honest, I probably wouldn't say that. I think they should just go for Lewandowski or Haaland. I think Haaland would be the best long-term investment, and then Haaland's actually been linked to PSG, and this is another transfer I forgot about, Mbappe to Real Madrid, and if that happens, that opens the gates potentially for Haaland to PSG. It's absolutely crazy, but yeah, I think City should get Erling Haaland. Me as a Liverpool fan watching all these transfers, says Adil, yeah, Liverpool still looks strong for, finishing very well this season, having a good season, maybe winning a trophy, but yeah, Liverpool should get someone, you would think, but I don't know, it's just not really Liverpool's policy, and Klopp's doing very well with the players he has. Of course, you've still got some top players like Salah and Van Dijk, but yeah, it must be a bit frustrating in your position. And even Man City, I know they signed Grealish for 100 million, but I still think they've been a bit complacent, They've let Messi go. I think they should have just gone for him, but I think the Grealish move kind of blocked them out of it. Harry Kane, they weren't willing to meet the 150 million price. Ronaldo now, they kind of pulled out of that, and that allowed United to get him. And then Lewandowski's available. I don't know what's going to happen there. Even Mbappe, but I think his dream is just to play for Real Madrid and be the main man, the face of La Liga. I don't know, but I think City should sign someone. If they sign a top goal scorer or striker, I think that they've got a firm grip on the league and they're the favourites. But right now, I think Chelsea potentially could win the league, but I could be wrong. Is it safe to sub Tony this game week? It depends who you sub him out for that, but of course there is the risk of him scoring. I think if Brentford do notch a goal, it will be down to Tony. I think he'll finally break his duck soon, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's safe, but you don't have to play him. I'm happy to have Ronaldo come back to United. I can imagine, Charles, I mean, United fans were cussing him literally a day ago, saying his legacy's ruined at United and, he's a traitor, he's a snake. And now, look how much has changed in 24 hours. I still think he wanted to join City. That's just what I think. But of course, I could be wrong. But yeah, what a difference 24 hours makes. Hi Dylan, I'm back. Great to see you still doing the stream. Still struggling who to captain, Antonio or Sonaldo. Yeah, I'd personally go for Antonio, but Son is a still really good option. And to be honest, it would tempt me to go for Son in a way because he's going to be a differential. Not many people will have him, and I could see Spurs winning by 2 or 3, just like West Ham. And Antonio could potentially blank, It's 2 big returns in a row. Maybe he's not going to do it in Game Week 3. You never know. Of course, we're kind of talking about illogical things. There's not really an exact science to this, Otherwise, we'd know exactly who to captain all the time. But if you want to go for someone different, go for Son. It could separate you from the rest of the pack, either in a good way or in a bad way. But yeah, I think, personally, Antonio is slightly better, but I could be wrong there. Will you hold Shaw? At this moment in time, yes. I just don't really see Shaw as a priority transfer. I know he's blanked really. He got 2 bonus points against Southampton. Nearly said Leeds. Yeah, against Southampton. But Yeah, I think with Luke Shaw, I'll be keeping him for now, to be honest. Love to see Messi in EPL after a couple of years. Well, to be honest, it's not going to happen now. This was the chance, and City had the chance. It's not going to happen, really. I think after that, he'll either go to America or maybe back to Newell's Old Boys, to be honest. Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Which free to play this week? I got Trent, Shaw, Digne, Ayling to choose from. Decisions. Really tough, mate. I'd go for Trent, Shaw, and Ayling. That might be a bit of a controversial one, but I'd go for Ayling. Digne could still keep a clean sheet, though. That is a thing. So obviously, it's up to you to kind of measure that thing against each other, but I'd go for Ayling. Liverpool will lose some players for the African Cup in January, thus they should make a transfer before the deadline. Yeah, that's true. I think that could actually really harm them. Well, I actually looked at the fixtures in that time period, and I don't really think they have too many tough games. Maybe they have Leicester in there or a team of a similar level, but I don't think they have a top team like a United, a City, or a Chelsea in there. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think they can still get by. They can drop some points, though, against some unlikely teams. Imagine a Manchester derby with Messi, Ronaldo. Yeah, I mean, we could have had that, but unfortunately, no. Even if Ronaldo joined City, we could have had that in the group stage of the Champions League, but it's not going to happen now. It is what it is. Liverpool backend. Trent, Robertson and Van Dijk are absolutely solid. No second thought. Yeah, true. You know, they've got some good players. I mean, I wouldn't say Trent is exactly solid, but he offers a lot going forward. And Liverpool have a good team, but I still think they need to add a bit more, at least to their squad depth. I don't know. I just think, look, they can still win the league. They can still be right up there. But I think a signing could lift the mood of the club. It can give the players a boost. It can be a statement. But I don't know. Signings aren't everything at the end of the day. And Jurgen Klopp is a very good manager. He's better than Oli, for example. That could be the difference. Liverpool can still finish above United comfortably. We'll wait and see. This should be a very interesting season. You know, that top four is quite predictable in terms of who's going to be in it. It's just a question of the order, and that's what I'm interested to see. Watch and learn. Captaining Pookie. Remember the name, Mr. Man. Fantasy Premier League genius. Okay, you know what? That would be very interesting to see. You know what? As soon as the Norwich game is done, I'm going to be looking at Pookie and seeing if he did well for you, mate. Hey Dylan, remember I'm always in your stream. It's 3:48 AM in Malaysia right now, but I'm still watching your stream, which you're doing really great. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, people from all over the world watching is obviously a blessing. And yeah, big up Malaysia, of course. And yeah, good luck with Game Week 3. Good luck with the rest of the season. Enjoy the international break. And yeah, just keep enjoying it. Thank you. Wishing Green Arrows good day. Same to you, Arun, and same to everyone else watching. 130 people. Really appreciate it. If you haven't already, just a quick plug. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button. Share this video around with people who love FPL, UCL Fantasy, and football. What I'm going to be doing actually is doing UCL Fantasy videos soon. I will be doing a first draft video. I'll be doing beginner's guides. So for any of you who haven't played it yet, but are interested in having the likes of Messi, Ronaldo all in your team, you can make a team, you can watch my videos, and yeah, we can just go on from there. I made videos last season too. I finished around 3,000, 4,000 in the world. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I post regularly on those platforms. You can interact with me on... Oh my God, I can't speak. You can interact with me on there. You can also send in your teams, for example, after every single game week. And yeah, I can rate your teams either in a video or in a live stream. And yeah, you can just talk to me about whatever, football, movies, FPL, UCL Fantasy, whatever you really want to talk about. So yeah, remember to do all of that good stuff. And of course, if you do follow me on those platforms, you send in your teams, a clean cropped image of your team, you have a much better chance of featuring in future videos. So thank you very much to everyone who is in here. Here's my team once again. Oh no. Now, there we go, we're back to the team. And fairly template, to be honest, fairly template. And yeah, I'm probably not going to be making another transfer. Of course, if I had two available and I didn't get Benrahma in already, I'd be tempted by a Son or a Harry Kane this week. But yeah, I've made my choice. Benrahma's in. I'm going for Antonio captain at the moment, but I could change it to Bruno still. I think it's quite a 50-50 one. What I really like about Antonio is the fixtures and the form. With Bruno, I like the fixture. Well, actually, I'd say the form a lot. The fixture, I'm not too appealed by. I think Wolves could be a bit frustrating for United potentially. But yeah, you know what? It's kind of just the 50-50. I might even do a coin toss. I've done that before, actually. Don't know if it's actually worked out pretty well for me, but yeah, we'll see. And yeah, thank you everyone who is still here. Over 100 people watching. Really appreciate it. And let's go through the questions that I have missed out on. Yeah, Ura says, great content. Always answer on every question and help me many times. Well done, mate. My favourite fantasy channel. Keep it up. Really humbled, mate. There's a lot of good fantasy channels out there, so really humbled, mate. And of course, really appreciate you being on every stream and video and contributing to the discussion. So really appreciate that, mate. And good luck with Game Week 3 and the rest of the season. PSG versus Man United Champions League final. Messi, Ronaldo. Man U wins. Ronaldo's the best. That would be very interesting. But you know what? Even if Ronaldo won that, I still think Messi's the best. That's my opinion. But yeah, that would be very interesting to see. I mean, one last dance between the two. That would be very interesting to see. My team: Martinez, Shaw, Duffy, Amati, Ayling, Fernandes, Salah, Greenwood, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio. Should I take a -4 to replace Mahrez with Son? Yeah, honestly, that team is fine. I'd keep it as it is, and I'd make a transfer going forward. Of course, it's very tempted to get Son in right now, but I wouldn't take a hit to get rid of Mahrez. I wouldn't do that. True, manager's experience and past can influence the team, not just transfers. Yeah, of course. Oli, he's done a good job, you can't deny him that, but I just think there's a big difference between the other top 4 teams in terms of their manager compared to Oli. I think there is a big difference there. Oli can be a bit naive. He sometimes gets things horrendously wrong. And for example, he hasn't beaten Arsenal yet. Of course, he's going to probably do the double this season, but it's just very strange that in 3-4 meetings against Arteta, he's just never won, which I find very strange. And yeah, when I say he's never beaten Arsenal in the Premier League, I know he's beaten them in the FA Cup, a 3-1 victory. Back in 2019, I think. Oh, I'm losing track of the years now. Welcome, Girish. Thank you for joining in. Definitely not. Son is good, says Mr. Man. Yeah, but I think you're saying to get rid of Mahrez for Son. I've never played UCL Fantasy. Send me a link if you can. Okay, look, I'm actually gonna go on. Yeah, I'm gonna go on the Champions League Fantasy website now, and I'll send a link in the live chat, so hopefully you're still there. And you can also go on your phone or your tablet, whatever device, go to the Google or Google or Apple Play Store, and you can download it. I think it's called UEFA Games, and it's the same app that they use for the Euro games, for example. So here you go, create team. I'll send a link in the live chat right now, and let's just hold on for a second. Let's have this screen up on here. And then, let me just send it now. I'll even pin it as well, so it stays. Wait, did it even? Yeah, it did. Oh, damn, there's so many questions coming in. Thank you very much. Jesus, I can't find my message. Gee, where is my message? Yeah, thank you. All right, it's pinned, I think. Yeah, okay, apologies, lads, apologies. Back to my amazing team. Let's go through the questions I missed out on. Thank you, everyone. Over 100 people still watching. Yeah, just kind of taken away really by all the support. Really appreciate it, mate. Or mates, should I say. What have I missed out on? Same Maximan, underrated pick, still even with a knock. Yeah, I was literally going to say that. He's got a knock right now, so he's kind of a bit of a risk. But yeah, I don't know, with Newcastle, I just don't trust them. Callum Wilson, I like him. I think he's very clinical, but I just don't rate the other assets. Maybe Willock could be a good one, but yeah, not sure. Looking forward to your videos, beginners ones. Yeah, sure thing, and I'll be making the first draft video. I'll be making much more deadline streams, 1 hour or 1 hour and a half before the deadline. There'll also be team selections, previews, all of that good stuff. It will be coming to the channel very shortly. What chip would you rather have from the Swedish League Fantasy? Oh, that's a very good question, Amir. 1, all offensive, that is all your attackers get double points. 2, all defense, all your defenders get double points. 3, 2 captains. That's a good one. I'd probably say the 2 captains. I think that and the Limitless from UCL Fantasy, where you essentially have a free hit, but you have no budget restrictions. I think those 2 would be the best. So from what you offer, I'd say the 2 captains looks like the best one. But imagine if you captain 2 players and they both blank. You must be kicking yourself, really. Take care, Dylan. Appreciate your work. See you later. Thank you, Rafael. And obviously, very good point you made about Lewandowski to City. I think that could actually happen. Hopefully it does. I want City to win the league because I just can't deal with the other teams. I don't mind Liverpool as much, I guess, but yeah, Chelsea and United. God almighty. How much will Ronaldo be, says Matty Price? I think 12.5 or 13 million, mate. If I had to pick, I'd say 12.5, but just don't be surprised if he, kind of breaks into the 13 million mark. Is it worth banking on any City or Leicester players? I think it's worth it. Barnes and Iheanacho could be really good this week. I think Jamie Vardy could. As for City, Mahrez is always an explosive option. He can do very well whenever. Gabriel Jesus will do well when he plays. Cancelo, same thing. He's very good when he starts. And Diaz is just consistent. He plays every game. He gets the job done. but they're just not really in my thinking at the moment. 12.5 million striker? Yeah, I think so. Exactly, Pool fans. I think that will be Ronaldo pretty much. Duffy or Livramento? Thinking Duffy because of aerial threat and clean sheets, and also he has good rotation with Ayling. Yeah, I prefer Duffy. The problem is Veltman comes back soon and he could lose his spot. That's the big problem with that. But Livramento is probably more likely to just keep his spot. He saves you a transfer down the line, but obviously, if Duffy keeps his place, I prefer him. FPL should have reduced Bruno's price by 1 million and CR7 12.5 million. Bruno without penalty kicks won't be worth over 12 million anymore. Yeah, true, but they just never do that. They don't reduce someone's price by 1 million suddenly. They have this dynamic price rises and price falls system, which depends on kind of transfer activities by managers. But of course, I completely agree with your point, but they're not going to do it. Got it. You are great. Thank you. No, I'm not great, but thank you very much for very appreciate it. As a City fan, even though we signed Grealish, I really thought we were going to get a striker. We had a chance to sign Kane, Messi and Ronaldo in this transfer window. I can't believe we didn't get any of them. Exactly. That's literally my point as well. So hopefully you'll get a Haaland or a Lewandowski, but I just don't know at this point. I mean, to be fair, if you kind of pass up on all these players, surely you have someone in the back of your mind, whether it's this transfer window in January or next summer, but I don't know, man. I can see a lot of players going to wildcard before Game Week 4 after the transfer windows close and internationals finish. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be doing that, to be honest. And some people are even talking about wildcards before this Ronaldo news, and because of Lukaku coming into the mix, and even Kane, whether he went to City or stayed at Spurs. People were intrigued to do that, and now it's literally going to be mayhem. I still, I'm going to have the same opinion as I did last week before this news broke out. I personally just want to see first with all these teams. I want to get more data, more information. I've had a good start. I want to keep the structure. I don't want to kind of undo it too much. But of course, I can change my mind in a week or two's time. Of course, it depends. I already have Ben Rama. What do you think of considering to transfer Barnes to Rafinha and save the other transfer to the other week, or Mahrez to 4.5 million midfielder and transfer Mahrez to Son? Good question, Hassan. So you already have Ben Rama, Barnes to Rafinha. Yeah, I'd say, you have 2 free transfers, so make 1 free transfer, Barnes to Rafinha, save the other one, have 2 going into next week. Mahrez to 4.5 million midfielder. Yeah, I'd probably do the first one, so yeah, Barnes potentially to Rafinha, and if not, you could potentially burn a transfer. Yeah, obviously if you could do a Mahrez to Son upgrade directly, I'd do that, but of course I don't think you can. Creswell, Soufal. I probably prefer Soufal just a bit, but then again, Creswell is just so good for the bonus points. He's on set pieces and he's so consistent. He was one of the top scoring FPL defenders last season. He was so good from the beginning, but I prefer Soufal just a little bit. Son and Brownhill or Greenwood and Benrahma for the next 2 game weeks. Look, I think Son will be he'll be the highest scoring from those 4, but Greenwood and Benrahma as a pairing is just far better. So it ultimately depends if you have other players in your starting 11 of a good quality. I wouldn't be starting Brownhill. He'd just be kind of bench fodder. So I'd go for Greenwood and Benrahma. Man United CR7, yeah. I mean, enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it, Meanwhile, Arsenal signing nobody really. Couldn't not go for Ronaldo, Kane or Lukaku really pay off, as Salah, Bruno, Trent will become more differential. Yeah, I mean, look, I like differentials as much as the next one, but I don't want differentials for the sake of it. Of course, those 3 you mentioned, they are highly owned right now, and they have been over the last few years because they're so good. But the likes of Bruno might not be as good now with Ronaldo coming into the mix. I still think he'll be good, just not to the same level. But yeah, I think maybe going without the strikers, you can still do really well, but maybe having one of them is probably the way to go. But of course, we need to see with all these players first. We haven't seen Kane back in Nuno Espirito Santo's system in the Premier League. Lukaku's only had 1 game against a very poor Arsenal team. Ronaldo hasn't even played for Manchester United upon his return. So let's wait and see. But it's a good point you raise. Tony plus Barnes, Bamford plus Gray. What do you think about these 2 free transfers? They look good on paper, but you know what? Tony and Barnes can do well this week. I'd probably save the transfers and have 2 free transfers available in Game Week 4 where you have more flexibility. I think Barnes can do very well this week. The reason why I got rid of him is because I had a feeling he might not start. But of course, if you feel differently, then you can keep him. When is Watkins back? I picked him at the start thinking he would only be out for 1 week. He has a bit of a strange injury apparently. And Dean Smith, you know how he is with injury news. Last season he said Grealish is back soon. In the end, it took him 3-4 months to return. So it's an interesting one. Either way, with Villa, I'd probably get rid of him anyway. Yeah, I'd get rid of him for a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a Bamford, or maybe just another striker. Probably one of the premium ones if you can. Welcome back, CR7, and save us the agony of long waiting. Yeah, I mean, you've been waiting how many years for him? 12 years? Since he left to Real Madrid. Yeah, I mean, at least he's not going City, you know. United fans finally felt what Arsenal fans felt about Robin Van Persie. And even then, it wasn't as bad. You know, Ronaldo going to City isn't as bad as Van Persie going to United. But, yeah, you know, you got him back, so enjoy it. If Man City don't sign a striker, can I go for Torres? At 7 million, he may even come from the bench to score. Yeah, look, I think Torres is a good option from time to time. He will get a few goals here and there, but I think he'll just be very inconsistent, just like his game time. So I honestly just would want to see a bit of consistency in terms of starts and performances and FPL points before, you know, thinking about Ferran Torres. Not so many more FPL questions that I can ask for. I've got answers to everything. That's really good to hear, Amir. But of course, if you have anything else, let me know. I'll be wrapping up very shortly. I've been actually streaming for 2 hours. Time has flown by. You know, it's been a blast talking to all of you. Really appreciate it. With Ronaldo in the mix, is Bruno actually a better option as a differential because he'll drop in ownership? I was asked this before, Josh, and look, I still think Bruno's a very good asset. I just don't think he'll be as good as before. And at 12.1 million, you could maybe just invest it elsewhere. And if Ronaldo is 12.5 million, you know, you could just make a swap there with 2 free transfers. So it's not really an easy one. But of course, if Bruno's ownership goes down significantly and he still performs and does really well, gets even more assists, then yeah, you know, we can't really complain. But he's not going to be hitting 18 goals or whatever like last time. With welcome him CR7, you know, all this CR7 talk, you know, of course he's the big talking point at the moment. No, I bet Haaland will go PSG because Mbappe confirmed today he's on the way to Real for 180 million euros and PSG will go for Haaland to replace him. Potentially, I mean, I honestly think PSG are, if anything, upgrading by getting Haaland in. And Haaland is so good in the Champions League. He could be the difference. He could be the main scorer for PSG while Neymar, Messi are the dribblers and creators in that team. Yeah, PSG have a scarily good team, and if they do get rid of Mbappe, I think they will take action. Maybe what could happen is they get Lewandowski instead, but as you said, maybe he will go for City. So it's just so much transfer news at the moment. Hi Dylan, is it a good idea to captain Adam Armstrong? Says Ali. Look, Adam Armstrong is one of the better options around 6 million, but I wouldn't be captaining him, not for me. Messi to Barca in 2023 and a perfect ending for both legends. I mean, I don't know, he'd just be downgrading, to be honest, going to Barcelona. And either way, their financial situation is so bad, I don't see it being solved by 2023. If they couldn't, you know, register him now, they barely even registered the likes of Aguero, Eric Garcia, Depay. You know, why can they register Messi again in 2 years' time? But of course, if Pep leaves in 2023 too, he goes to Barca and so does Messi. Maybe Barca can start to build something there, but I don't know about that. Rashford and Sancho, when do we go for them? They are both great players, right? Well, this is the thing. If I'm being honest with United, I still think Bruno's a more appealing option than both of them, and Ronaldo's the kind of big talking point right now. He's the focal point. So honestly, Sancho and Rashford, I'm just not really considering them. And even Greenwood now, I'm not too sure about him going forward. But of course, if Greenwood can start most games, I prefer him over Rashford and Sancho. I've decided to sell Mahrez to Son for a -4, hoping for the best. Fair enough. I think obviously getting rid of Mahrez for a hit is risky, but you're getting Son in. He should, you know, kind of, I'd say, justify that hit over the next 2 weeks. Good luck with that. Ali or Tielemans for Gameweek 3. I prefer Dele Alli, to be honest, but I don't like him too much. Who are the best free premiums in your opinion? And then top 2. Look, I'd love to be able to rank Ronaldo and Lukaku and Kane, but we just don't know yet how they're going to, you know, perform this season. We haven't seen them really. Only Lukaku. Top 3. Look, I'd still have Salah in my top 2, I think. I think he'd be... Yeah, I mean, this is tough. You know, top 3, you know. Oh, my God. This is such a tough question. Look, I'll definitely go for Salah. I'd probably go for Ronaldo. And the other one, I still think Harry Kane, to be honest. I still think Harry Kane could be really good. Although Lukaku is one that's very interesting. He's slightly cheaper, playing in Chelsea, who at the moment I think they're going to win the league or finish second. So he's also someone else to consider. But I'd probably say Ronaldo, Kane and Salah. In terms of, you know, top 2, probably Salah and Ronaldo, probably. But, you know, I could change my mind. And, of course, we haven't seen them play yet. Thanks, lad, for all your help. As usual, good night and all love from Malaysia. Thank you very much. Big up, Malaysia. Have some sleep, mate. Obviously, it's like 4 a.m. over there. And, yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. My bench isn't the strongest right now. Veltman, Andrew and Obafemi. Yeah, I'd try to improve your bench slightly, especially when in your case Veltman's, got COVID or, he's not able to play. So yeah, that's going to mean all the top strikers will change home in the same transfer window. Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Bruno, Pogba captain, Ronaldo, Rashford, Cavani. Yeah, I mean, that looks really good on paper, to be honest. Of course, in terms of FPL, you can only have 3 of them, and I'd be looking at Bruno, Ronaldo, and maybe even still Greenwood. Except Antonio, says Rafael. That's true. That's true. Do you think Kane will start game week 3? And how is he for a captaincy pick? I think if he starts, he's the best captaincy pick this week, and I think he will start. But there is the slightest chance that he is benched. FPL might shock us and classify Ronaldo as a midfielder. That is true, Ali. That is true. Although, if you're asking me, in my opinion, I think he's going to be a forward. He was in UCL Fantasy. He was in Euro 2020 Fantasy Football. I think it's going to be the same thing again, and it'll be 12.5, 13. Foram says, I want to join your league and compete with you. Code. Yeah, the code is on the left-hand side of your screen. So where it says league, the code is right below it. So 886RGT. And if you check the description of this live stream, you will see the code. You can copy and paste it into the FPL website. And if not, there's an auto-join link. If you click on it, you're automatically in the league. So yeah, there are different ways to kind of join. And yeah, no worries, mate. I'll be answering some final questions before wrapping up. Would you recommend this team? Lukaku, Antonio, DCL, Greenwood, Salah, Son, Benrahma, Brownhill, Livramento, Ayling, Tanganga, Creswell, Manquillo, Sanchez, Foster as a wildcard game week 4? Look, it looks good, but I wouldn't be kind of completely settled on that and kind of disregarding your team right now, because you might have done very well in the opening 2 or 3 game weeks before you wildcard. So, it's a good wildcard. In terms of ways to improve, to be honest, that looks really good. Maybe Manquillo, try to get someone else in for him. Although, to be honest, that 4.1 million, who can actually be a nailed defender? Not so sure. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Greenwood might be an issue going forward. So wildcarding him in is risky. But yeah, on paper, looks fantastic. I can't tell you otherwise. You can maybe save a bit of money by going Creswell to Soufal, potentially. But yeah, overall, good team. Guys, like and subscribe. Big up Dylan, still streaming. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for the advice as always. Thank you, Mickey, for the plug, and thank you for joining in as always with the good discussion, and good luck with this game week 2, and enjoy the games. How much do you think Ronaldo would cost if he was a midfielder? I think probably 13 million. I think if he was a midfielder, he would be 13 million. But I think he'll be a 12.5 million striker, maybe 13 million. But yeah, as a midfielder, I think he'd be 13. Thank you, everyone who has joined. Still around 100 people watching. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, like Mickey said, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. There'll be more of these streams in the future. And you can always contact me on Twitter, on Instagram, also on YouTube, Dylan_RCM on all platforms. And yeah, I post regularly on all of them. And you can always talk to me there about football, UCL Fantasy, FPL, and whatever it is. And with UCL Fantasy, I'll be making videos and live streams very soon. The game is live. And yeah, so over the coming days and weeks, there'll be a lot of content for that too, along with the usual FPL stuff. So really appreciate all the support today, guys. It's been very, very entertaining and obviously very productive and I'd say creative, talking about all these ideas and bouncing off each other. And of course, really appreciate all the support, and good luck with Game Week 3. Good luck with the rest of the season, and I'll see you